Scott Pruitt and Max Angelelli, both former Rolex Series champions, both fighting for a second title and both facing the same challenge. John Fogerty and Alex Gurney. This is the fresh-faced partnership that's the talk of the sports car town.
We keep putting in the same ingredients, end up getting the same result.
Speed and reliability has propelled this dynamic duo towards their first Rolex crown. The Gainsco gang do it again! The state of the series couldn't be better. Pruitt and Angelelli tied at the top. Max the Axe sliced on the inside and Brown is gone!
They don't call it the Axe for nothing.
And the Gainsco guys just 4 points back.
We are at the same pace of the 99, so I'm really happy looking forward for the next races.
Green.
And this mighty fight will be decided in the 2 remaining rounds. Daytona prototypes come to Wine Country, California, but who will have the sweetest taste come Saturday night? Rolex sports cars on speed right now. Wine Country welcomes sports cars to California for a crucial round in the Rolex Series. Only 2 races remain, and for those in the title hunt, they need to unlock the secrets of Sonoma. This is the Armed Forces Grand Am 250 at Infineon Raceway. Yes, we have a colossal title fight on our hands. It's a 4x4, 4 points, blanket, 4 drivers. Scott Pruitt, Max Angelelli, John Fogerty and Alex Gurney. It could not be any tighter with just these 2 races to go, and for the other positions they can all still change as well. So exciting times ahead in the Rolex Sports Car Series. Nothing better than being in contention at this time of the season, and Brian Till, that is definitely the case for Max Angelelli.
Max Angelelli finds himself in a very familiar spot on top of the Drivers' Championship points, and Max, you showed us at Watkins Glen why they still call you Max the Axe. You chopped your way to the front. Question is, how much chopping are you going to have to do here, because that number 10 car does not look like it's been working for you all weekend long?
Well, first I have to say hi to the Pruitt family home. Hello. And then I think I have like to chop like a jungle. I mean, a forest. It doesn't look really good, but this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to try to do.
Well, they call him Max the Axe. Always exciting to watch. He'll be exciting today. He shares that championship lead with Scott Pruitt. Don't forget, Chris, these guys do not like to share.
Well, Scott Pruitt won this race last year, and he won here 20 years ago. But, Scott, we've got to talk about today, and this championship is all tied up. No more points racing. What are you willing to do to keep the points lead?
We're going to do whatever it takes, man. We did a good job putting Telmac's car up 4th. The Ganassi guys continue to do a great job. Pit stops, pit strategy, doing what we do there. I mean, the 99 car is strong. I mean, they're starting up front again today. We got to just try and do whatever we can to get by them. I mean, they've run strong. They've won 6 races this year. And between this race and our lax race, the nice thing about the next race, we get a little bit of break from Grand Am on a Lexus engine, so it looks like we'll make some improvement there. Ganassi's always strong on long races, so we got to come out of here strong, get to the last race, because I see us being even stronger at the last race in Salt Lake City.
Well, these 2 drivers are leading this championship, but the 2 that are chasing are within striking distance.
Not only are they within striking distance, they're only 4 points back. Alex Gurney, John Fogerty, 6 wins on the season, 10 pole positions. I think you owe your teammate a very nice Christmas present, but that's the future. Let's talk about today. You've not raced a Daytona prototype on this track. You didn't get in the car last year. Is that going to be a hindrance in the latter going of the race today?
I don't think so. You know, I got plenty of running in the practice, and this morning I went a little bit quicker than the pole time, so I feel really good in the car. We feel like, you know, we deserve this championship, and we're going to go out there and win it.
Well, the confidence very high here at Gainesco, and why wouldn't it be, Lee?
Absolutely. There they are, our title contenders, and we wish them all well over these next 2 races. Hi, everyone. Lee Diffie along with Dorsey Schrader. The 3rd Musketeer is missing this weekend. Calvin Fish is on ALMS duty up in Mosport in Canada. Dorse will continue to talk a lot about this championship. Why wouldn't we? But perhaps rivaling that in the news stakes this weekend is that for the 3rd time in as many years, a driver has been suspended in Rolex Series competition. It is 18-year-old sensation Colin Brown.
And, of course, we saw Colin Brown at the end of the last race at Watkins Glen having a mix-up, if you will, with Max Angelelli, the 10 cars. They got down to the final laps. It wasn't all about that. It was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Actually, it's an ongoing scenario with this car and with Colin Brown. I mean, it's been going on mostly with Michael Valiente, rather, as the 2 cars have hit before the 19. We'll take another look at this, and this is from Montreal. This is on board with Michael Valiente, and listen. That's a big hit from behind. But it's not over yet, because now the cars build speed up to about 130 miles per hour. And watch this. Watch on the right. You'll see the green car. There's the bashing and a subsequent spin. Now, Mark Raffoff had a talk with Colin Brown and said, okay, enough is enough. I don't want to see any more contact when we get to Watkins Glen, as I said. And here at the final closing laps, you can see it again, the two cars off to your left. There's the first hit, there's the second hit, and that was enough. Now, he's out of the seat for one race, no doubt about it. He's been suspended, but when you vacate a seat, there's always another driver.
Exactly. It opens up an opportunity for a driver who is very fast and very well respected in the world of motorsport. A driver who has 38 Formula One Grand Prix on his resume. It is Ricardo Zonta, and he's with Chris Neville.
Lee, it's one driver's misfortune, but another's opportunity. And Ricardo, you're known for your Formula One experience, but you also have sports car experience with Mercedes at Le Mans and in the U.S. But an unknown to you is Sears Point and also the Daytona prototype. How have you adapted?
It's very good. No, I'm adapting quite well. I'm very happy to be here in Sonoma. The circuit is fantastic. I enjoy a lot. And also the cars I drove is very nice grip as well. I'm very comfortable inside.
Well, Krone Racing was so successful last year, still looking for that first win in 2007.
And another Formula One driver joins the Rolex Series ranks. We look forward to that. It's a beautiful day here in California at a very testing race circuit. Stick around. Round 13 of the Rolex Sports Car Series on speed after this. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is brought to you by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. By Ruby Tuesday, simple, fresh American dining from start to finish. And powered by Pontiac and the 260 horsepower Solstice GXP. We're back in Sonoma, California, Infineon Raceway, a beautiful location, a great racetrack, a storied racetrack. And my good friend Dorsey Schrader, sitting right beside me, has also enjoyed victory here at Infineon Raceway. So, Dorse, that qualifies you to talk us through the Lexus track map.
Well, of course, it's one of the great tracks, 2.52 miles in length, and it's quite tricky, quite honestly, because of the elevation change. When you pass turn 1 right here, you climb a big hill, and when you approach to turn 2, well, turn 2 is a blind corner. It's also a place where the cars will congest, they'll pack in together. A lot of incidents in turn 2. Now, out of 2, you go downhill into 3, and then climb another hill up into 3A. Through this whole section, 4 and 5, it's a building speed situation. You're going quicker and quicker as you approach the carousel, which is turn 6. Now, it's a good out-braking maneuver getting into the carousel, but it's risky in that if you don't get the pass made and you're side-by-side in the carousel, you're slow as you come down the next straight. The best passing opportunity probably is into turn 7 right there, and then you start on the high-speed S's. Now, it's single file all the way through 7, 8, 9. You're very, very fast as you approach turn 10, and then the braking into turn 11 is where you see all the incidents. It's probably the best braking pass on the place.
We're close to going racing. Final thoughts? Chris Neville, you go first.
Lee, when you look back at Daytona, we had that great battle in the last couple of hours of the race between 4 different cars. Now look at the season we have. It really mirrors that first race. We've got 3 cars, 4 drivers, and the tightest points championship in the world. An entire season of racing has come down to a 2-race shootout. Brian?
What about the new guys, Chris? What about Alex Lloyd, Indy Pro Series champion, 8 wins, including 1 here today to wrap up that championship. He'll start 5th. We already talked about Ricardo Zonta. Both of these drivers with very good teams, they will run up front, which means they can find themselves between some of these championship players, taking points away, and worse yet, what if they get into one of those guys? The visitors to the series could affect the championship. Lee?
Yeah, we'll need to keep the magnifying glass on these guys, but this young man, hasn't he had a stellar day? Alex Lloyd, just 22 years old, and as Brian mentioned, wrapped up the Indy Pro Series here today. You can see that later this week, that race in its entirety. But this guy is very, very exciting, the young British driver. And then Zonta, he hasn't had a lot of time in the Krone Racing Pontiac Riley this weekend, but when he's got behind the wheel, he's been fast, Dawes.
Been very quick, and I wouldn't have expected anything different from him. He's had a bunch of different experiences. You see the onboards here we'll be riding with. He's driven everything, so he'll get in this car. He'll do a great job for the guys.
Guy center of the frame in the 23 Porsche Crawford for Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing. That is the inaugural Daytona Prototype champion. Terry Borchella is back in Daytona Prototypes, and it is wonderful to have him back as the Ruby Tuesday starting grid scrolls across the top of your screen. Terry's record season high of 6 wins in a single season could be beaten here today by the Gainsco duo.
In the meantime, back at the back of that, the 11 has done an engine change. And so it's starting at the back, but it also had an incident in qualifying where it had a crash, and it was going to start back there anyway. So the engine change, I thought, would have been precautionary. It wasn't. They actually sprung a leak. Probably it was a head gasket. This is the qualifying crash. It ended the session after just about 5 laps. You see contact made there. J.C. France going around the backside and gets backed into, something you don't see every day, and that's a good thing.
Roger Yasukawa in the 11 Samax machine, and it was just one of those awkward incidents, as you just saw. Yasukawa got off the brake, rolled back, and we spoke to JC this morning. He said I take part of the blame. I shouldn't have been in that situation, but I don't think that's 100% correct. It was just one of those awkward ones.
Well, that is turn 2 that I talked about, and there really isn't anywhere to go. It's a blind corner. JC did the only thing it can, and now they form up here in turn 11 for the start.
We are moments away from the start of the Armed Forces Grand Am 250, the second last race in the 2007 season, and again, it is John Fogarty on the pole, Nick Johnson on the outside, and the green flag flies here at Infineon Raceway.
Good start for Fogarty. He's going to lead them up the hill the first time. Watch, turn 2, that's where it gets dicey.
Gidley goes wide at a track that he knows very well. Rojas is in the mix. Great qualifying effort from Rojas and Darren Law, who maintains his qualifying spot in 3rd. Shane Lewis, who changed the tables this weekend, changed the routine, and he qualified the number 3 PLP Lexus-powered Riley in the top 10 in 7th position. Inside move there.
This is a very, very hard track to pass on. Not a lot of opportunity. That was a good move right there. This is the approach to the carousel. We talked about that at the beginning. You don't want to go side by side. Through here, as we saw the 59 just trying to get underneath. And I figured that was going to happen. Spins.
J.C. France off the track. It was Harrison Bricks, incidentally, making that inside move on Mark Wilkins the turn before. J.C.'s been able to get back on track and get going, and there is Roger Yasukawa.
And that is the reason you don't want to go side by side through the carousel. There just isn't enough room.
John Fogarty has made a blistering start. This is superb driving on the opening lap and has bolted from Nick Johnson.
And that's exactly what I would like to do if I was in that car. Get away from this big battle behind you, because it's the first lap here and things are going to get pretty hairy back behind him.
There's Fogarty, 2-time Toyota Atlantic champion, and is on his way rapidly to being a Rolex Series Daytona prototype champion. Good scrap going on for second between the Porsche. Both Riley chassis cars. It's a Pontiac in front, the green and blue machine of Nick Johnson over this man here, Darren Law.
And Darren Law in the Brumos Porsche has been really good in all these sessions. That's a really good car this weekend.
We're hearing a report the 39 Crown Royal car is on pit road. Chris.
That's right, Lee. The Crown Royal machine coming to pit lane, getting down with that mandatory pit stop in the first 45 minutes. Christian Fittipaldi is going to get behind the wheel, so a very short stint by Harrison Bricks. The team going to put a little bit more fuel in the car, no tires, so this is just going to be a quick stop trying to get Christian behind the wheel and strapped in. Now, he should not go down a lap because the lap time here is pretty long. Now, we have seen this strategy work over the course of the season. If we do have an early caution on the racetrack, everybody else is going to come in, and that's going to give Christian the opportunity to get the car back up front. Brian?
Down here, Tracy Cronin, the number 76, in. Some damage to the right front and a flat right front tire, so they'll have to make those changes. Back down further pit road, Matt Alhadov in as well. So these two cars, obviously a part of that first lap tangle up there. A little bit of damage, but both cars will get back on track.
And did Tracy stay in the car, Brian, or has Max Pappas climbed aboard?
Tracy has stayed in the car. They're having trouble getting it started right now, Lee. Crew members pushing it down pit road. I can hear the starter spinning, Dorsey. It sounds like it's not engaging.
Oh boy, and the 39 also had trouble. I saw as he pulled out that the engine installed on that car.
And here come the leaders. Here comes John Fogarty in the Gainsco machine. So Tracy Crone will lose a lap as of now. Here is the flying Fogarty. 1.3 seconds the margin the first lap around. Make it 1.5 seconds now.
Well, that strategy is not going to work for this car anyway. They go a lap down right away.
Wouldn't this be a magical day for John Fogarty and Alex Gurney if they could get the all-time record of 7 wins? They're both from California. John literally just up the road from this circuit, and this would be a magical day.
And you heard Alex Gurney say, we want this championship, we deserve this championship, and they're going to run this car, and they're going to run it hard. Something we've seen the last couple of races. They're going to try to gap the distance to their second-place car and run free of all that.
A lot of credit has been placed on the engineer, Kyle Brannon, the car, the performance of the car, And we can't forget about the two young guys who steer this machine.
No, you cannot take anything away from those two guys because they have a huge air of confidence. Now, they find, the engineering into the thing's one thing. They got the car working really well, but the drivers have the confidence to put it on the edge and to run like they have, and they just have not made any mistakes all year. They've been pristine, and so hats off to those guys.
Nice and smooth and clean. That's the thing. You can have a fast race car, a good race car, but errors always creep in. These two have not let them creep in. Gurney and Fogarty have been a rock-solid combination in 2007. Nick Johnson still holds a very strong second over Darren Law. Then Memo Rojas. Think of the pressure on this young Mexican. It is steep. It is heavy. And he has responded this weekend. This is a circuit where he did an extra test in a different vehicle, not a Daytona prototype, earlier this year to get extra miles and experience when he needed to perform right here, right now.
And, of course, as they passed pit lane, you saw the 76 still in the pits being pushed, trying to get started. So now 2 laps down, that car is not going to have a good day.
Alex Lloyd is in a top 5 position in the 19, the second Ganassi car. Then Shane Lewis behind Mamo Gidley, 6th and 7th, and Wilkins is in 8th, Terry Borchella 9th, and Mark Patterson is in the top 10 in the 60 Mike Shank Racing Lexus. What a year Nick Johnson's had. Not only driving again for Krone Racing, but he got those 2 NASCAR races in the Busch Series. Then he and his wife, Helene, celebrating the birth of their first child, 2007, a very memorable year for the Swede.
Talked to Nick about an hour ago and asked him about the car and how is it and compared to the 99. He goes, we don't want to talk about the 99, but we're really good. We're as good as we have been. And he says the car's capable. He doesn't know if he can match the speed with the 99, but no one else can either. Not that far back in time. He's really not far behind Fogarty. And you got pressure from Darren Law, who's also, like I said, run good in every session. The Brumos Porsche really doing a good job here.
Here's Memo Rojas. Knows this circuit. Feels confident, feels comfortable. He's setting reasonable lap times, great qualifying effort, and just needs to keep this car nice and clean in one piece to hand it over to the co-point leader, his teammate, Scott Pruitt, who has his entire family here, his wife, his kids. It's a big day in California for Pruitt.
And that's why I didn't say hi to my family at home, obviously, when we did the interview. They're all here. One thing I can tell you about this racetrack is that when it's like it is right now, hot and sunny outside, the longer you run on this track, it gets very, very greasy. I don't know if it's oil that comes up. It's a characteristic that's always been here. The cars just, in the mid-afternoon, really get slippery.
Brian?
Well, Dorsey, I was just talking to Alex Gurney about a lot of these teams complaining about lack of rear grip, and he said, well, we've got it too, and you got to remember, don't forget, last year they had traction control at this racetrack. It's very warm today. The track is getting greasy, and he said, it's kind of an unknown for all these teams. Last year, we had the help of that traction control. This year, it's all in our right foot. Chris?
Well, typically we see Rob Finley paired up with Michael Valiente in the 19, but you get a new teammate this weekend. Why is Rob not in the car with you?
Well, Rob actually re-injured his shoulder. He had an injury a few years ago, and unfortunately he's just gotten worse the last couple of races, so he hasn't been able to drive this weekend. But Alex has been doing a great job.
Now, you guys had a great race back in Iowa this year. You finished second. Today, you've got a great young driver, just won the IPS race today. Is this best chance for a win?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's doing a great job running 5th right now. All season we've had a car that can be on the podium. We've just had some bad luck, so hopefully things work out in our favor and we can help the 01 for the championship and also get a podium result for ourselves.
Well, he's got a strong driver combination today, but when we look towards Miller, he's going to have Scott Dixon in the car with him there too.
And speaking of Scott Dixon, this young man, Alex Lloyd, got his first IndyCar test at Sebring recently for Ganassi Racing and was setting comparable times to Scott Dixon. He really impressed Chip Ganassi and the entire team. Hence, he was invited to drive in the 19 Mission Residential Z-Line Designs car alongside Michael Valiente. So Alex Lloyd, keep an eye out for him and watch his performance. Big weekend for NASCAR in Bristol this weekend, and for all the breaking news, in-depth analysis, detailed driver stats, and plenty more, log on to the most powerful team online. And that is, of course, foxsports.com and speedtv.com for all the information you need. Welcome back, folks. You're watching Sports Cars on Speed. We're talking the Rolex Sports Car Series, and we're talking a championship. The car we ride with is the SunTrust Wayne Taylor racing car, Californian. Mamo Gidley behind the wheel, lives in Novato, just up the road, and runs in a very strong position right now. Doing well. The 11's in, Chris.
That's right, Lee. Roger Yasukawa getting out of the car. Thomas Inga getting strapped in. Yasukawa not having much time this weekend in practice, but he did run with the team back at the Rolex 24 earlier this year. Thomas Inga very fast at Watkins Glen until he had contact with Brian Tuttle on the racetrack. Also very fast in practice here this weekend. So we anticipated this car would be starting further up on the grid, but trying to get Inga strapped in here, getting this mandatory pit stop done so Inga can have a lot of time out on the racetrack trying to push this car towards the front. Scott Pruitt also got his helmet on, looking for him to get behind the 0-1 and just a few laps.
One thing I noticed, Chris, with Roger Yasukawa there is that he's pulled the car too close to the pit wall, and the guys on the left side now struggling because they're very, very near. They can't get between the wall and the car, and that's a mistake by the driver.
John Fogarty, race leader here in the Gainsco machine. Nick Johnson has responded to this challenge. Nick Johnson has just set a 1 minute 29 second .99 lap to be within 1.7 seconds of our race leader. The only other driver to dip into the 129's Christian Fittipaldi with the fastest lap of the race right now. But talk more about the 75, Brian.
You know, Lee, a lot of us found it interesting that Nick Janssen qualified that car. A lot of times when a guest driver comes in, they'll put that driver in to qualify, put the stronger driver in at the end. I asked Jeff Hazel, team manager at Krone Racing, about that, and I said, you know, why did you do that? Or do you think that Ricardo is actually the stronger driver? And he kind of got that wry smile that Jeff gets and says, just a test for the young man, just a test.
And we'll see if he can rise to the occasion. I'm sure he will. David Brown from Krone Racing used to work with Ricardo Zonta when they were both at Jordan F1.
And Ricardo Zonta is being managed by Max Angelelli and Wayne Taylor, of course, who are in the 10 car. They were instrumental in getting that ride for him. Let's to see him on board that car.
Let's talk about the man from Scottsdale, Arizona, right there on screen. Darren Law in the Red Bull-sponsored Porsche-powered Riley for Brumos Racing. Some feel that this could be their breakthrough win of the 2007 season. Boy, they've been knocking on the door. David Donahue and Darren Law have been incredibly consistent this year, and they really want to break into the top 5 in points. And the driver immediately ahead of them on the point standings, Colin Brown, is of course not here. So that door has been opened and made a little bit easier for them to be in the top 5.
Darren Law really doing a good job putting some pressure now on Nick Johnson, because that car, I said it every time he's been in the top 3 of all the sessions, and talking to him, he said, you know, it's really coming around. It's really starting to get there. And everybody seems to be able to catch up now a little bit with the 99, who early in the season just had a huge advantage. Now it's a little bit less than it used to be.
Well, let's go inside the Brumos camp. Here's Brian.
David Donahue down here by the pit box listening to what's going on the team radio. You guys having a great run. This car really seems to have come alive as of late. You had that third at VIR. The car here in these weather conditions, a lot of guys complaining about grip. Are you guys going to have a good one?
Yeah, first of all, I know what you're looking for me to say, and well, I know I can't say hi to Scott's family at home because they're all here and they brought friends, and I don't know how many of them are packing. I'm not touching that one. But yeah, it seemed like as the run would go on, the rear tires would go off first. We would particularly get more oversteer, or more loose as the run went on. So I haven't talked to too many other guys. It seems like some others have the same problem. But the hairpins, because they're so slow, trying to get traction off them, and then you lean on it so hard going up into 1-2. I mean, we're pretty hard on the rear tires here.
Well, best of luck. They got a good car right now, guys.
They certainly have. They have been in the top 10 in every single race except the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Scott Pruitt, geared up, suited up, ready to go. Remember, each and every car must stop once within the first 45 minutes of this race.
And it's the last time we're going to see that rule, at least for this year, as we go next on to Salt Lake City, Miller Motorsports, and there will not be a 45-minute stop rule there. So,
well, there's no point really, is it? Such a long race, 1,000 kilometers, 6-7 hour long race. That will be tough to round the season out. There's plenty of work still to come. even though we're in our penultimate round of the 2007 season. We climb aboard the Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing Porsche Porsche Crawford, I should say, and Terry Borchella behind the wheel.
Talked to Terry Borchella just a little while ago, and actually talked with Patrick Long, who drives this car all the time, and they said it got so loose last year at the back end. The tires went off so badly that they really dialed a lot of understeer into the car to make the front end not work as well, so that they hopefully can get the back to stay under the car longer.
Chris, you got more on the 23?
Well, when I was talking with Terry earlier today, he was pretty amazed at the fact that, you know, he's only done one Daytona prototype race this year, and he's got so many miles from other years, and he was like, man, you know, it just took me a while to kind of knock the rust off and really feel these cars again and know what to tell the team. So Terry Borchella, he's got so many years and so many miles of driving race cars, just kind of felt like, you know what, I didn't feel like I was quite up to snuff, but now very comfortable with this team. You got to remember, he ran with them last year at Miller, hoping to try and get a few more rides after this season, looking towards 2008.
It's amazing that he hasn't been out of the car that long, but he has been out of it most all of this season, and that's all it takes to get that rust on you. You know, you just don't have the balance, the feel, and you don't have the confidence to put the car at its limit, and that's exactly what Terry is talking about. He's trying to come to grips with.
He sits in 9th at the moment. The order is John Fogarty, 1.6 seconds ahead of Nick Johnson. Darren Law continues to shadow. This is a great scrap for 7th here. Shane Lewis sits in 7th. Mark Wilkins putting pressure on. And Borchella was the next one in line. That's a lapped car. The 05 of Matt Al-Hadaf is down in 16th position and not on the lead lap. The yellow and blue Seagull Sport Luggage Express machine.
One thing I'm seeing about this racetrack, Infinity, is that it's got some bumps. It's got a new attitude to it from when it was first paved. It was pretty smooth at first, but now if you watch the front of these cars, you'll notice that they really are slamming up and down quite a bit. So the racetrack itself is starting to get a new personality, if you will, with this roughness.
Well, we were talking about the BMW-powered Seagull Sport machine. Brian, tell us more.
Well, the Seagull Sport team, the only 100% California team out here, Bill, but you guys had problems early on. What's going on with the 05?
Wow, bad luck. I think somehow they touched early on, and a coil almost at the same time melted down. We replaced it. I mean, now the Luggage Express 05 Dynon-powered BMW is on its way to the front. And wow, it's gonna be a long haul. We have had no luck this weekend. We came out here, the car felt really strange. Whole broken bell housing, which holds all the suspension on. Missed a practice session, went out. Then we had something in the left front suspension seize up. It has not been our weekend, but maybe now it's gonna get better.
Well, hopefully the weekend will get better. You want to talk about 2008 yet?
No, you guys keep we're at dinner. They keep, but I guarantee you something good's going to be happening. It's going to be good.
Something good's going to be happening. Interesting, you talked about that bell housing. He picked it out. They call this guy the car whisperer. He knew exactly what the problem was, guys.
Keep trying, Brian. You'll get it out of him sooner or later. Yeah, the car whisperer is a great name for him. This is a man who's driven in a lot of different configurations of race car. He is an expert as far as his mechanical ability. He could build these cars. So he was able to feel that it was the bell housing in the back of the car. He knew it. He came in after a few laps and said, there's a problem, and it's back there at the bell housing, and sure enough, they got into it, broken bell housing.
Californian Bill, a very talented driver, that's for sure. 2.5 hours or 99 laps, whichever comes first, here at Infineon Raceway.
The summer sales event where you'll find unexpected values on the Lexus you've always wanted. But like summer, it won't last forever. The event, now through September 4th. See your Lexus dealer.
We're back. The Armed Forces Grand Am 250 continues, and this young California John Fogarty continues to set a blistering pace. All of a sudden, he's put an extra full second on Nick Johnson. The margin is now 2.7 seconds. It's looking good as we go to the Gainesco camp.
Bob Stallings down here from the pit box watching. You know, a lot of people would think that this team is under significant pressure in this championship hunt. 4 points back, 2 races to go. It just seems cool down here.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't want to overdo it. We're all a little bit nervous, but we have a very good car. John really knows this track, and we're kind of just doing our thing right now.
You said the other day, you know, even if we leave here and we've got a points deficit, we're not concerned because we're looking forward to Salt Lake. What's the magic with Salt Lake?
Well, last year we had 3 guys in the car: Jimmy Vasser, Alex Gurney, and this guy that's out there right now. And every time they were on the track, we were the fastest guys on the track, and I expect that to be the case again this year.
Very positive down here at Gainesco, but Bob Stallings not the only powerful team owner on pit road right now, Chris.
That's right, Brian. We got Chip Ganassi down here this weekend, especially with IRL in the series or at the racetrack. Chip, in the past couple weekends, we've heard Scott Pruitt's name associated with other teams for 2008. Can you put an end to any of these rumors?
I sure can. I guess, you know, Scott's been a part of our team for a lot of years, and I can assure you he's going to be a part of our team for many years to come.
Just taking a look at this championship. You've won it before. The championship now, it's tied up. The 99's only 4 points back. Have you ever seen anything this close?
I'll tell you. I mean, it's everything you want to see out of a championship if you're a big fan of this type of racing, and I am. And but boy, I'd sure like to have a little more of a cushion there. You know, with two races to go here, 1.5.
Well, definitely a good thing. We're going to see Scott Pruitt back with Chip Ganassi in 08.
Good news. Answers that question. We've been speculating about a bunch of different things. Drivers going back and forth. Scott Pruitt stays at Ganassi. We've heard a rumor about a V8 Porsche engine that might show up very shortly. So things in the Grand Am changing. It's going to be an interesting next year, but this one's not done yet.
Well, I've heard that Porsche V8 engine will turn up at the next race in Utah at Miller Motorsports Park.
And that's not too far from now, so that would be another engine added to the fray, if you will.
You saw there that time is running out for the teams who have not made their mandatory pit stop within this first 45 minutes. Nick Johnson continues to handle the pressure from Darren Law, who is relentless. He will not go away. However, they are letting John Fogarty get away. 3.8 seconds now is that lead margin to the 99 car.
I said before, this racetrack is so hard to pass on. Only really 2 decent places a lap, and we have 2 cars equally matched, as you see these 2 cars truly are. There's just no room to get an advantage on someone, so you sit there, you apply pressure like Darren Law is doing right now, and you hope that you can force the other driver to make a mistake. But for Nick Johnson, well, he doesn't make a lot of them.
This is a very happy place for Nick Johnson. It's where he brought up his very first Speed World Challenge victory. It had been coming for quite some time, and he did that several years ago here in California. Well, grab the remote control, hit the volume, and turn it right up. It's time to go riding around Infineon Raceway with Christian Fittipaldi. Because it's the only Pontiac Fab car in this field. Christian Fittipaldi at the wheel of the Crown Royal Special Reserve machine for Chiva Racing. And speaking of Chiva, Chris is with Eddie.
Well, we've heard a lot of rumors about Ganassi, SunTrust, even Stallings that are starting to come together. Eddie, also some rumors swirling around Chiva Racing. What can you tell us about the team and the car for next year?
Well, let's start with the car. We've been working with the Fab Car project for most of the season. It's gone very well. We've changed from a Porsche engine to a Pontiac. And we've been evolving the cars. We've gone along, and we're getting ready for next season, just like everybody else is. But we're very optimistic that we'll come out with something that's better again. And our team will be using it for sure. As for the drivers, we really haven't formalized anything, but we think we understand where we want to be with the drivers. And I think we'll probably make an announcement in Salt Lake City.
Eddie, would you anticipate one car or two cars?
We're looking at running two cars. Definitely continue with the Crown Royal car, making it stronger again. But it would be good for us to make a jump to a two-car team. We spent 2 years learning all the ropes of Grand Am, so we're getting there. We're getting there.
Like Eddie said, Fab Car's still going to be a part of that manufacturing relationship. However, they are going to rebrand the car for next year.
Climb on board. The 39 with Christian Fittipaldi one more time has made his mandatory stop. Harrison Briggs qualified and started the car.
Christian had a lot of smiles this weekend when I asked him about next year and the possibility of who his co-drivers would be. No names were mentioned, but there was a big smile.
We look forward to, I think there's going to be considerable announcements at the next round at Miller Motorsports Park in Salt Lake City, Utah. We'll be back right after this. Life is good if you're John Fogarty in the 99 Gainsco Insurance Pontiac Riley. The Redmobile is doing it again, 5.9 seconds out in front. Dynamic qualifying effort from John Fogarty yet again. And the poles just keep on flowing. For the team, it was their 10th pole of the year. It was the 9th consecutive. And for John Fogarty himself, it was his 7th in a row. Just dominant. And then earlier today in the morning warm-up, Alex Gurney went faster than John's qualifying time. So the boys at Gainsco are truly on it. This is a good scrap for second.
Yeah, and something I've been noticing is that Nick Johnson there in the second place car, the 75, is starting to loosen up. The chassis or the tires at the back starting to go away. The car starting to slide. Darren Law has seen that already and is starting now to put pressure on. And so I'm the last time trying to get the nose under down here in turn 11. We'll see if he makes a run at it again. Turn 10 is very, very quick. And if your car's loose, you just have to hold on, buddy.
Pontiac, Porsche. There's your top three. Then we go back to a Lexus-powered Riley. The first of the Lexus machines is Memo Rojas in Telmec's car, who's done a very nice job keeping that car in a strong, positive position. There it is here, the familiar blue and white car. Well done, Memo. Nice job.
And then Alex Lloyd, the new young man that we were talking about, phenom, if you will, really, really doing a great job. First time in the car, he's sitting there in 5th place. There he is, doing a fine job.
Alex is a former McLaren Autosport BRDC Driver of the Year, which is an award in England. He's a British driver. It's a very well-regarded award. A lot of prominent drivers in the world of motorsport have won that. As a result, he got a McLaren Formula One test off the back of that. He's done some F3000 Italian racing, World Series by Renault. He's a runner-up in the British Formula Renault Series. So he's already well-credentialed, and today he clinched the IPS Series. So what a year for that young man.
And dare I say, in the United States, what better guy to drive for if you want a future in racing than Chip Ganassi?
Yeah. Here's the 10 as we work our way through the order. It currently maintains 6th position with Mamo Gidley behind the wheel. Let's hear from the team principal now.
Wayne, the 10 car was very fast last year. In fact, you guys had pole, and you were really excited to come back here this year, but the weekend just hasn't gone the way you had hoped.
No, it's been difficult all weekend. We're not really sure why. We've tried everything, and we've made another big change for the race. And we look like we're losing 3 to 4 tenths a lap. So we're hoping for a yellow to get Max in the car, and we'll take it from there. You know, we can't afford to make any mistakes here because we're still in the championship fight, and we just need to push a little harder, I guess.
Well, this team might be having a bad weekend, but the past 3 races they've erased at a 15-point deficit.
Tim Keane and the boys at Ganassi have said it is time to come in, Memo Rojas, because Scott Pruitt is ready.
And these guys are known for getting the pit stop work done quickly. Take a look as they go to work. Driver change is being done. You'll see that Pruitt's already in. He'll be helped with his belts and all the things he's got to hook up. Radios, air systems, filtration systems. The guys with the tires, they know what to do. This is practice. They video this. There we go.
34 minutes into this race, so some 11 minutes to spare before that 45-minute mark. They're done. Pruitt's in the car. He will stay in the car, and that's close between he and the 91 of Jim Matthews.
That was extremely close. That is a very dangerous situation coming off of pit lane into turn 1, which is one of the fastest corners on the whole track. It's kind of blind because the pit wall is taller than, in fact, where you sit in these race cars. So they didn't know that one another were coming into closed like that. Good job by Jim Matthews not to freak out and panic and cause a wreck there. He did the right thing. Scott Pruitt got by him. But that's a hairy situation.
It was a sensational performance 12 months ago here from Scott Pruitt to drive back through the field.
Scott Pruitt
at Infineon Raceway. He lives in Auburn, California, not too far from here. So familiar with this circuit, performs brilliantly here.
He has ran every kind of car you can possibly run. He's run here. He's been so many times in the Nextel Cup. You saw the pass for position happen right there, the 59 getting around Matthews. But Scott Pruitt has been in every kind of car. Trans Am, he's won several times. He knows how to get the job done around here.
We're hearing a report that the Riley Matthews car is on its way in. Jim just lost a position there to JC France. That's outside the top 10 for 11th position.
So you got to think that Jim Matthews' car probably has lost its handling. Probably the tire's gone. And he knows that he needs to get it to the pit lane, get something done.
And Pruitt begins the chase. Rojas handed him the car in 4th position with Fogarty, Johnson and Law ahead. And that report is indeed true. Yeah, the Riley Matthews car is in, Jim Matthews is out, and now Mark Goosens climbs aboard. This car was 5th fastest in this morning's warm-up.
That was smart right there for Jim Matthews. He knew that he had run to the point that the car was slowing up. And you see those tires, they don't look very good. You see a lot of rubber buildup and so forth on them. He gets out of the car, puts Goosens in.
You got a problem with the door, Dorsey.
It looks like they're having trouble getting the door shut. This is not good. Not good at all. You see the guy struggling to do something about it. Valuable time being lost.
Well, this is happening under green flag conditions. This is costly time-wise. Now Goosens is finally released. Now at the front of the field, our race leader, John Fogarty, has caught Tracy Crone.
Now, can he get by? This is one of the things. Tracy Crone has a lot of trouble seeing these cars when people are trying to pass him. He just is not aware all the time that they're there. And he is holding up the 99, John Fogarty. I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but it's still happening. As you know for sure, John Fogarty's car is the quickest car out there.
Well, let's rewind the clock 12 months. These two came in contact at this racetrack, and it sent the 99 off course. And it handed the lead over to Jan Magnussen. Now Fogarty gets through cleanly and gets on his way, but it was costly time-wise.
He's got a lot of time in hand, but you're right. You have to be a bit patient. He finally got the pass made going into turn 7, which is one of the 2 best places on the racetrack to get a clean pass made.
Less than 8 minutes to go for those who have not stopped to make that mandatory pit stop. And our race-leading car is in that group. So too is Johnson and Darren Law. The top 3 is like that. Sports cars on speed, the Rolex series. Plenty more when we come back. We're back in California. Race leader John Fogarty continues to dominate. That little bit of time spent behind Tracy Crone cost him about 2 seconds, but he still has 5.5 up his sleeve. And we're hearing that Darren Law has finally got by Nick Johnson for second with 5.5 minutes to go to make that mandatory stop, and the SunTrust machine is on pit road. Chris Neville.
Well, the California Mamo Gidley, the super sub this year in the SunTrust machine. He's had 2 starts and 2 podiums with this team, so he's bringing that car into pit lane. Coming around the corner here into the pit box, be handing over to Max Angelelli. It looks like the team is going to do fuel and tires. Now, they were talking about the car just not working right on the racetrack, making some adjustments to the bars inside. We'll have to see if they do anything aerodynamically to the car. Right now, just focusing on getting Max behind the wheel, tires and fuel into the SunTrust machine. Nothing going on with any rear gurney on the car or doing anything aerodynamically on the front of the car. So it looks like all changes that are going to be made is just going to be working with the bars. Max is down and away.
See how long the pit lane is here at Infineon Raceway, and it's a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit. It doesn't take very long to get to 45 from a dead stop, but then you're there for a long time. There's a 60.
Good opening stint from Mark Patterson again. Well done. Was running in the top 10 for the early part of the race. He hands over to Oswaldo Negri Jr.
Mark did a great job, comes all the way through this, and that 45-minute time is just about up, so you're going to see everybody coming. In the next couple laps, whoever has not been in the pits will be showing up.
And this is one of those tracks that Oz loves as well. We're hearing whispers that the 75 and 58 are about to come in as well. We will keep an eye on that. However, John Fogarty now boasts a 7.5-second lead. And here is Nick Johnson. He is in. Brian?
Johnson in. Now Ricardo Zonta is going to get his first stint behind the wheel in anger in a Rolex Daytona prototype event. Zonta behind the wheel, a helmet that looks pretty reminiscent of Nelson Piquet, another Brazilian driver, very famous Brazilian driver with that teardrop on the side. Very smooth stop down here so far. They were complaining of oversteer. They were going to make a front-end aero change. I'm not sure if they made it or not. He's away, guys. Chris?
Alex Lloyd bringing the 19 machine to pit lane, handing over to Michael Valiente. Just fuel and tires. Tires already done, just waiting for that fuel. Very good stop by this team. Got their driver change and their tires done before the fuel was in the car. That's great.
Well, he was talking about making an aero change to the front. I saw him go, one of the mechanics go up there and just stomp on the front end of the air spoiler. So that was the aero change. As you see the 23 Ruby Tuesday, the Crawford Porsche now in for its mandatory service.
And Terry Borchella hands over to Patrick Long, regular driver, and the race-leading car is on pit road. John Fogarty, excellent opening stint. Now, will he do the same as he did at Watkins Glen and stay in? Brian, we're about to find out.
Now, John Fogarty out. Alex Gurney will be climbing in right now. The Michael Shake number 6 entry behind him. So Fogarty had to make a little sharper move into his pit box. The nice thing about this Infineon circuit, they're using double pit boxes here, so plenty of room down here. About 60 Gainesco agents here cheering this team on, trying to root them on to a championship lead as they head into Salt Lake City, Miller Motorsports Park. Right now, tires are on, fuel is in. Just getting Alex squared away, and the engine has stalled, trying to get him fired back up. And we've seen this before. You lose time on pit lane, it can cost you dearly on the track. Gurney now away.
They lost a lot of time right there, Brian, no question about it. Not only was Alex not into the car and belted in when the fueling was done, but then the engine stalled. And these things, once you turn them off, don't like starting hot.
New race leader is Darren Law for the Red Bull Brumos team. But remember, this car needs to pit. Darren Law is running out of time to meet that mandatory stop within the first 45 minutes of this event. Boy, he's cutting it close.
Yeah,
1.5 minutes. That is
so he
tight.
better haul on back to the pits real quick right now is what he's got to do. He's on the top end of the circuit, just came on to the beginning of the S's. He'll be pitting this lap. I'm sure they wouldn't dare go another.
Very encouraging run for Darren Law and Team Brumos. Let's hope they can keep it going all the way to the checkered flag.
Yep, he's coming in.
All right, so now it's time for the boys from Jacksonville in Florida to perform. Brian?
Long run around the outside of the hairpin that brings you down pit road, but Darren Law brings the car in. They had actually had a car that was beginning to understeer a little bit, so a different handling problem than the 75 had. Darren Law climbing out, David Donahue climbing in. Donahue with some tenderness to his left wrist, some tendonitis over there that he'll have worked on at the season's end, but right now I guarantee you when he gets out in the heat of battle, he's not going to be feeling it. Looks like a routine stop here. This team really coming alive as of late, had some good finishes and some great runs, but it would be great to see this team come out with a win. Right now, Donahue working with the belts. He's away. Great stop, guys.
Chris?
Well, Mark Wilkins bringing the 61 machine to pit lane, taking that top spot on the pole there just for a brief stint as Scott Pruitt goes by to take over the lead. But Mark Wilkins staying behind the wheel of the 61 machine, doing fuel and tires. Now they're making an air pressure tire change to the front of this car. It's been very loose. It looks like they're also going to do a gurney change to the rear. You can see the team is changing out that gurney, throwing a little bit more rear wing at the car, trying to settle down the back end of the car. But Mark Wilkins staying behind the wheel.
And you saw what Chris was talking about right there, the gurney flap it's called. And why is it called that? Well, guess who invented that? Alex Gurney's father invented that. And we're talking about, of course, Dan Gurney. And he invented that little deal. You put it in there, and it increases your rear downforce pretty substantially. And it's not terribly effective as far as making a lot of drag.
59 is in, Brian.
J.C. France out. Hurley Haywood, his career winding down as a driver with this Brumos team, but we've talked earlier in the season about the management role that he will assume. Also good news, they say they have reached an agreement with Joao Barbosa to drive this car next year. Nothing's been signed yet, and they've got some details to work out with immigration, but it should be a great combination for 2008. Hurley Haywood down and away.
Well, every time that Barbosa has driven for the Brumos organisation, he's performed. The late Bob Snodgrass was a big supporter of the Portuguese driver. As Pruitt is in the groove now. Several laps to settle in, get in the zone. And this is going to be a wonderful scrap to the end. Who will take the points lead into the 14th and final round of this year's Rolex Sports Car Series Championship?
We talked about the Ganassi boys and their pit strategy, and their pit has brought this car out. Now, Scott Pruitt knows the racetrack awfully well, and he's not going to be a man that's going to be easily passed by anyone.
6.3 seconds the margin over Alex Gurney. We'll see what Gurney and the 99 team can do when we come back. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. Simple, fresh American dining from start to finish. And powered by Pontiac and the 260 horsepower Solstice GXP. Very nice day here in California. We're less than half an hour's drive north of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and we rejoin with dramas for the Crown Royal Chiba Racing team. Chris, you have more on this? What's the situation?
Well, checking in with the team, Christian Fittipaldi came down the front straightaway very slow, checked in with the team, and they said fuel pressure problems with the Crown Royal machine. We saw Christian limp around the racetrack, now making it to pit lane, but very slow down pit lane. It looks like he's just rolling at this point in time, and the crew jumping in the car trying to head down and see if they can help him out. It looks like Christian is possibly getting the car going, and then it shuts down again, so he's having a difficult time just trying to get down pit lane.
That's not good at all. Fuel pressure problem on one of these. He can't take it back out, or he won't make it back this time. In fact, he's not even going to make it to his pit.
Well, as they go to rescue him, let's talk 99 for a moment, because Alex Gurney, if there was ever a challenge, he has responded to it, to Scott Pruitt. When we went to commercial break, the margin was 6.3 seconds. When we came back, it was 5.5. It's now 4.9. Gurney is flying, Brian.
Gurney is flying, but John Fogerty, what a great opening stint from the drop of the green, but you were just telling me the car is not perfect right now.
It's not perfect, it never is, but the Gainesco Auto Insurance car is always really good, so that was enough to keep it up front. I think a lot of guys others started on stickers. I started on our qualifiers, so I think once everybody's tires wore in, I was able to gap myself. But AG's out there, and he's closing pretty quickly on Scott. They had a really good stop, and we had a little bit of a bobble, so you know, our closest competitor's out in front, and Alex is tracking him down, so it's a good race.
We saw that little bobble here, and any bobble on pit lane cost you dearly, cost you the lead here. Catching Scott Pruitt at Infineon is one thing. Are you going to try to pass him on the racetrack, or are you to get it done in pit lane on the next stop?
If the opportunity comes, I'm certain Alex will take it, but you know, that crew is so good in the pits, like our guys, that it's anybody's guess. So if Alex can make it happen on the track, I think that's the way to go.
These guys racing in pit lane just as hard as they're racing on the track.
Well, if the 99's not perfect, he should drive some of the competition, because it is truly the class of the field this year, one way or the other. There is Scott Pruitt.
First and second.
And here comes Alex Gurney. Now, Alex Gurney, as we said earlier, you said it, Lee, in this morning session goes out and runs faster than the pole time. time. So he is very quick on this car, and he's running down Pruitt about a half second a lap.
4.9 seconds. It's down to 3.3. And another lap in the 129 zone. A 129.7 for Alex Gurney against a 131.2 for Pruitt.
Now, two things. Watch Gurney's car. He's leaving black rubber marks at the exits of these corners. What that means is he's really loading the rear of the car, and he's going to get the rear tire temperatures pretty hot if he keeps that up.
Well, we will continue to monitor this fight. David Donahue is in third. Valiente is fourth. Ricardo Zonta doesn't seem to be wasting any time settling into the Krone machine. He's doing very well in fifth ahead of Angelelli. Shane Lewis is seventh. Mark Wilkins is eighth. Patrick Long is ninth. And Oswaldo Negri is in the top 10. Brian, what do you have?
Well, that Red Bull car flying out there, Lee. Darren Law was the one behind the wheel on the opening stint. Darren, the car looks spectacular, but do you have enough? Are you going to get another podium finish for the team? How about that first win?
We would love that first win, and we'd love a podium this weekend. The car is actually really handling good. I was following Nick for that whole run, and I was making good time through the S's and finally got him down here, but the car is really hooked up. Brumos guys have done a great job. Hey, my wife is here, so I have to say hi to David's family this weekend, since we're doing the whole family thing.
All right, good luck to the Brumos guys. A fast car. Chris?
Ryan, we talk about the pressure in this championship. What about the pressure for some of these sub drivers? Mamo, you're having to sub on a team that's leading the championship at a track that's also your home track. As a driver, is this the kind of call you want to get?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity to drive with SunTrust and Pontiac and Wayne Taylor Racing, so it's definitely a huge step. It allowed me to put myself back on the radar screen, and I'm having a great time. But yeah, it is a lot of pressure to step into when they're so close in the championship. There's a lot of, you can make a mistake and just blow it for them.
Talking about the speed of the SunTrust car, it sounds like the setup just wasn't quite right all weekend. You made some big changes before the race. Is it any better now?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit better, I think, and Max seems to be taking to it pretty well. So I think if we had a yellow and bunched it up a little bit, but Max, he's just going to keep charging and work his way up there. But hopefully we'll get a yellow, bunch it up, and then he'll have a fight to the end. I think he can do it.
Well, if it's going to be a fight at the end, you want Max Angelelli on your side.
Oh, boy, did you see that during the interview in the box? Angelelli might be Ricardo Zonta's manager, but he didn't show him any love on the track.
He gave him a little hip check as a couple of Formula One guys there said, hey, move that thing over, mate.
Boy, he did not hang about. Check this out. Coming out of turn 11, out of the hairpin. Watch this. The shot from Angelelli's car.
I don't think Ricardo even realizes that Max Angelelli's done this. He sets him up, gets down into the brake zone. Now he cuts in inside, side by side here. Get out of my way.
Out of the way. This is your first Rolex race. I don't care where you are. I don't care about our personal relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I might be your manager, but I might be your manager, but you got to give me some room here. Watch, here you go. Inside, no problem. As they come off the corner, just side swipes him, and down the road I go.
By the way, that's the pit wall there. Just get a little close to that and see how you like Rolex Series racing. Good, hard, clean stuff.
They'll have a word after this is over about that, a laugh, I'd say.
So Angelelli continues the climb. He's now in the top 5. Next driver he's working on is Michael Valiente. The lead margin has been reduced to 2 seconds. It's still Pruitt over Gurney, over Donahue. And speaking of that 75 car, let's hear from the man who started the race in it, Nick Johnson.
Nick Johnson doing a great job at the start. A spirited battle with Darren Law there, but you two seem like you didn't have the best car out there. A little bit of a handling problem?
Well, I think got a little greasier today. I don't know if it's because of the IRL rubber that's down or whatever, but the handling of the car completely changed from yesterday's qualifying and this morning's warm-up. So we were a little loose out there, yes. We were trying to adjust the pit stop here with some tire pressure and knocking some pieces off the front of the car. Hopefully that will work out in the end of the race.
And you have a new teammate this weekend, Ricardo Zonta. How difficult is it to adjust to having a different guy in the car and trying to come up with a setup that both of you like?
For me, it's no big deal because Ricardo is such a experienced international driver, and he has adapted really quick both to the track and to the team and the car. So it doesn't really make a big difference. As long as you have a professional like him in the car, everything is good.
Nick was talking about adjusting the front end of the car and taking some pieces off of it. I watched the crew guys stomp these winglets off the front of them. That's how they reduce the front downforce on the car. So any way you can get these pieces off, Dorsey, I guess it's going to work.
That's what I was talking about, Brian. I saw him making that aero change with his foot, kick the side of the thing off, and oh well, whatever works, works.
Well, we've got the top 2 or the 3 in the championship in the top 5 positions here in this race as we settle into a rhythm for the second half. Stay with us. We're back in Sonoma, California, Infineon Raceway, and a quick reminder before we get back to the racing. Wind Tunnel tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's live on Speed. Special guests, NASCAR Busch Series points leader Carl Edwards and NHRA Top Fuel driver Doug Herbert. Look forward to that. It's always good to join Dave on a Sunday night for Wind Tunnel. We're back. This is Scott Pruitt. He leads, but marginally by 1 second over Alex Gurney. Then Donahue is still in third. He is coming, and coming quickly. Valiente is fourth. He's keeping an eye out for Max Angelelli, but he's got about a 10-second buffer over the SunTrust machine. Ricardo Zonta is sixth. Lewis is seventh. Wilkins, Long, and Negri remain in the top 10. Chris, what do you have?
Well, Scott Pruitt's rookie teammate got him out in front. Mamo, great opening stint for you at a track you've never been to before, but you did have a chance to come here, test a Formula Mazda. How important were those laps that day?
Well, it was certainly helpful because, you know, everybody in the top 10 and with the championship battle know already the track. We couldn't afford not to know the track, and I just did that test. It was very helpful, although it's a very different car. And, well, we've been running well all weekend, and, well, now the team put us in the lead. So we go. Hopefully we could get the 99 because they're running very quick.
Well, we talk about tough situations, tough place to come for a rookie to race, but not only you have to race, you have to push your teammate along in this championship. As we look to Miller, what are you thinking about?
Well, you know, when we were leading the championship, it was all about not making mistakes. Now that's not enough. We need to not make mistakes and be quicker than them, which certainly being quicker than the 99 lately has been a tough challenge. They've been doing a great job, and well, hopefully we get them somehow differently.
Well, we've heard a lot of great driver additions for Miller. At Miller, we'll see Salvador Duran back in the 01 car. He won with these boys at Daytona earlier this year.
That's exciting stuff, isn't it? We take an overview of the last 5 events for the combination of Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas. Consistency is the key.
Now it's going to get good because Alex Gurney is close. He's almost there. Scott Pruitt will be creative, I would say, right now. He's not going to let this happen easily, and there's only 2 places around this track that the pass can be made, and they're both easily blocked.
You notice on several cars, including the 99, little wisps of smoke from the right rear of the car as they go through one and start to climb.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing, Lee, there is that when they make the hill climb, when they go up that hill, it loads the chassis so hard that the right rear tire is rubbing on the bodywork. I've seen it on more than the 99's been doing it a lot, but there's other cars out there too. And I really think all it is a little bit of tire to body contact there. No problem, I wouldn't think. But Pruitt's driving hard. Watch Pruitt's car now. You know how tidy a driver Scott Pruitt is. You watch his car, it looks like it's on a rail, but when he's fully on it, like he is right now, it'll start twitching around. You'll see the back end start sliding, coming off corners, and Scott's in that mode right now. He's trying really hard.
Reports that the 11 Samax Pontiac Riley is pitting the combination of Thomas Enger and Roger Yasukawa. Enger is behind the wheel. Incidentally, he will stay in that car and see the season out. We will not see French-Canadian driver Patrick Carpentier back in the Samax car. Chris?
Well, we just saw Thomas Enger drive the car back to the paddock, so they will be retiring the 11 car for the rest of the event. They came out so strong back at Daytona early this year. However, at Watkins Glen and at Barber, they had plug wire problems, which caused the coil to fail. They thought they had that situation under control. They had a different type of plug wire on the car, but Peter Barron just reported to me, once again, same situation, plug wire and coil fail.
Look at this at the front of the field. Here comes Gurney. The margin is nothing, 0.4 of a second. He has caught Scott Pruitt. What has the master got?
Well, Pruitt will now go in defensive posture in the areas where he can be overtaken. It won't be so much here in the carousel, but watch when he goes up into turn 7, he will not leave any room to the inside there, and he won't leave any room to the inside of turn 10 either, as I saw Alex Gurney have a peak there last lap.
Both Riley chassis cars. This lead car is a Lexus power plant in it. The car running second, a Pontiac. Pontiac leads the manufacturer's point standings by some 41 points over Lexus, and Porsche is third. But this is a gripping battle, and it just shows what a celebrated career Scott Pruitt has had. He won at this track some 20 years ago in SCCA Trans Am racing, the same day our own Dorsey Schrader won the IMSA GTU class here. That was on your 51st birthday, wasn't it, Dors?
I'd be 100, I think, by then. Well, I'll tell you what, these guys are really going at it pretty hard, but Pruitt knows what he needs to do. I mean, he's going to defend those lines where Gurney is faster. But the Lexus boys, we talked about it before, they get a break. They get a little help in the engine compartment at the next race at Miller. They're going to get new cylinder heads, and it should pump their horsepower up about 20. And I think that the consensus of opinion is that the Pontiac engine development is gained during this year somewhere around 30 horsepower. So
that's
some of the other, it's considerable. And some of the other manufacturers now are experimenting with getting caught back up, if you will. And we know for the fact that the Lexus will get new cylinder heads.
Well, a short while ago, we saw Christian Fittipaldi limp his way to pit road. Chris, you got any more details on that? What's happening at Cheever?
Well, I checked back in with Eddie Cheever, and he said, we got the car back out on the racetrack, but we weren't able to do any fix to it. We just added fuel to the car. For some reason, it's not picking up 9 gallons of fuel in the racetrack, so the only thing they can do is make sure that they keep that car full of fuel. Very disappointing, because Christian Fittipaldi setting some of the fastest laps on the racetrack.
Yeah, they went some 30 laps on that stint. Christian did anyway when he took over from Harrison Briggs. So we'll keep an eye on the Crown Royal Special Reserve machine.
That's a shame. Usually those fuel pickups are in the tank inside of a little box, if you will, that keeps the fuel around the box and around the pickup. If that box should break, or if that pickup should come loose and get away inside there, well, then you can't pull all of the fuel out of the fuel cell. And that is a big shame for these guys.
Donahue, he's some 8.5 seconds behind these two. Can he eat into their lead? He's lapping similar lap times in the mid-130s, a 130.6. Pruitt put in a 130.7. Gurney a 130.8 last time around. Nothing between first and second. Scott Pruitt and Alex Gurney.
And Pruitt did exactly what I said he would do. He went into defensive posture. When he came out of turn 10, he immediately took the inside, so there's no way that Alex could get inside for the outbrake maneuver in turn 11. Now he's going to have to do that, and sooner or later, and Alex will be a okay guy about it for a while, but sooner or later Alex is going to put some pressure on in the means of maybe a little nudge.
This race will consume these two fabulous drivers. There's a championship on the line, and what a way for it to play out here in the Californian sunshine, and with the two in the title hunt going at it at the front of this field. Points as of now, but there is a long way to go. We're not even at the halfway point of this race just yet.
Pruitt right there, locked up the tires, getting into turn 7. You saw a little bit of blue smoke. He did a good job of getting off the brake, but it left an opening that Alex was almost able to get in.
Brian?
Guys, you saw the 39 car hanging there right behind Alex Gurney in the 99. The Gainesville team just down here talking to the official saying, hey, guy's got problems. He's down several laps. Tell him not to get into the middle of this deal. Right now, Christian Fittipaldi just shadowing the battle up front.
Again, right there, Scott Pruitt takes away the inside opportunity. Alex Gurney not able to do something. Now, this is very frustrating if you're Alex Gurney, because you know he's going to keep pulling this maneuver, and sooner or later, if it was me, I would do something about it.
Well, it's not only frustrating if you're him, it's frustrating if you're Christian Fittipaldi, because look, he's on race lead pace.
Exactly.
But positive signs and positive times ahead for Cheever Racing, that's for sure. We'll be back. Back at Infineon Raceway, the Rolex Sports Car Series continues, and when you're in such an intense title fight like Scott Pruitt and Alex Gurney are, it would help if you had the secret to success. Our Brian Till went in search of this week's Ruby Tuesday recipe for success.
You know, the Ruby Tuesday recipe success for winning races and winning championships is about being prepared. You need to be prepared as a driver. You need to be prepared as a team anytime you show up to a racetrack. And with testing restrictions the way they are these days, drivers will do anything to get lap times on the racetrack. And when you can't be out there, well, drivers like Scott Pruitt, they come in here. Here at PabstRacingSimulators.com. Scott, in a simulator right now, and this is not like Xbox 360. This is the real deal. Tell us a little bit about these simulators and how they work.
Well, Brian, the first thing was finding a simulator that truly works, at least as close to reality as it can be. And this is by far the best one I've ever been on. The challenge is we're so limited with track time. We went to a place like Montreal. One, you can't get on the track beforehand, especially with the DPs. It was almost impossible to give up any time, especially in a championship run, trying to learn the racetrack. So I came here, spend 3, 4, 5 hours on the racetrack, learn all the technicalities of it, working with it, and just spending miles. And when I went up there, I was ready to go. And it's phenomenal. And a lot of the Busch guys, a lot of the Cup guys are using it now because you just can't get any track time. There is no testing.
And talk about how applicable it is. If you've not been here to Infineon before, what does it take to be successful on this racetrack, and what is it you can learn on the simulator?
This is a tough place. I mean, there's a lot of uphill, downhill, a lot of cresting, a lot of falling away turns, and a lot of blind stuff. You just can't see the next turn. You go up into 2, you cannot see 2, 3, and 4 by any stretch of the imagination. Or something like this, you can run the track, you can run as much as you want. So when you go there, you're ready to come out of the box, guns blaring.
Well, the recipe for success, it's all about track time. We'll let Scott Pruitt get back to driving at Montreal. We talk about track time, you get it wherever you can. The biggest difference between this simulator and the real deal, well, guess what? In your Daytona prototype, there is no reset button.
And the pressure is on here. We've just received a report that Ian James in the number 6 Mike Shank Racing Lexus machine has been asked to be cognizant of what is going on behind him, and he's been asked twice to perhaps make it a little easier for the race leader, in fact the first 2, to get on by and continue with their fight.
There you go. Here we go. And that's a good thing. Ian lets it happen. Stays out wide. Scott knows it. Goes to the inside. Of course, Gurney goes with him. Fittipaldi with him. And the problem with that, with Ian James, is he doesn't want to go that lap down, and he's got Goossens, which will be the next car that these guys catch, right up there that they were racing for position.
They were just having a fight not that long ago over 11th position. At today's drivers' briefing with Director of Competition Mark Raffoff, he did alert the drivers to that. He said, go out there, have a safe day, but be respectful, but also be aware that there is a championship fight going on here. Keep your eye on your mirrors and be aware of who is coming, who is behind you. Chris, tell us more about the Ganassi car.
Well, we heard when Memo Rojas was behind the wheel that the car was a bit tight mid-corner, and he was working with the sway bars trying to get it handled a little bit better. They didn't make any changes during that pit stop, so same thing that Scott is dealing with. The car a little bit tight now. Now, a lot of teams complaining about how loose the car is later in the stint, so the whole Telmex team thinking that they might have the right setup, and if they can keep that car a little bit tight early on, it should get neutral later in the stint, and Scott will still be able to get off the corners well. And getting off the corners is the thing that they've been lacking against the 99.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, basically, if there was 3 laps to go in this race, I think Scott Pruitt would be in pretty good shape. But we're only at the halfway mark right now. There's no way with the speed differential between the 99 and the 01. Scott can just keep working this thing as long as he can, but sooner or later, the handwriting is on the wall.
Yeah, on laps, we're right on that halfway point, aren't we, on time? We're ahead on laps, so this is going to run laps as of now, as opposed to time, but we've run caution-free in comparison to last year's race here where there were 3 caution periods. Brian, tell us more about Gainesco.
I just spoke with John Fogarty, and I said, the 39 car still filling Alex's mirrors out there. Are you just trusting the fact that he understands the championship implications and he's not going to do anything? He said, no, we're not trusting anything. As a matter of fact, we're very concerned about it. One thought is we could let him by and let him go do battle with Scott and see if that mixes something up. But no, we're not taking for granted that he's going to sit there. So Alex not only has to do battle with Scott Pruitt, he's got to be concerned about the lap car of Christian Fittipaldi behind him.
That is a bit of a nuisance as you're going to the second to the last race, running for a championship, to have something like that. But for Christian Fittipaldi, that car is under development. They're out there right now. He might be laps down, but he is, in fact, pacing at the same speed as these lead 2 cars.
And on lap 3 of this race, Christian Fittipaldi set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:29.4.
And he's not going to just go up there and mix it up with him. I know Christian well enough to know that, he's out there for a purpose right now. Unfortunately, he is laps down, but he's learning this car. They're trying to develop the car for next year. And the guys in front of him, well, it's their championship right now. I do see Scott Pruitt coming off corners, spinning wheels now, spinning tires where you're leaving big black marks, so you can't do that for long before the rear tire temperatures go up and you start losing more and more grip.
Championship contender Max Angelelli is back in 5th place, and he is some 27, almost 28 seconds behind the race leader, Scott Pruitt.
And they have struggled with this car throughout the weekend. It just isn't up to the speed of the other 2 cars in front of it. It's, as you heard Wayne Taylor say, about 0.3 of a lap per lap off the pace of the 99 or the 01 right now, I would think.
It's about 8 seconds in arrears of Michael Valiente, so he's kind of in no man's land. Angelelli, a caution would be handy for the SunTrust team, that's for sure.
And for Max, this is a lonely place. He's out there running as hard as he can. There's nobody in front, nobody in back. And you start to wonder if the race was over and someone forgot to tell you about it.
Well, that's where you just got to listen to race engineer Travis Jacobson. He'll give him the updates, give him the time intervals, talk him, coach him through it. Wayne Taylor will be on the radio as well. Speaking of the SunTrust Wayne Taylor team, Chris is there. Chris?
Well, I just checked in with Wayne Taylor about the problems they were having with that handling of the SunTrust car in that first stint. He said we really didn't make any changes to the car during the pit stop. Max is just trying to come to grips with the car, working the sway bars. Says it's actually a pretty good car right now. He's just got a pace. He's trying to follow. They'll have the second pit stop in a little while. Then they're hoping for a caution to bunch things up. I said, Wayne, do you have a car that can win this race? He said, yeah, I think we do.
We'll see. There's still a lot of racing to go here at Infineon Raceway. We'll squeeze in a quick break, but don't go away. We'll see what happens with Pruitt and Gurney when we come back. You're seeing some of the best drivers in the land, in the world, go at it hard here for a Rolex Series crown. Scott Pruitt and Alex Gurney here at Infineon Raceway, and Gurney is starting to turn it up. He's trying some different lines. He's looking for an avenue by Scott Pruitt for the lead of this motor race.
And not too far in front of Scott, you're going to see Mark Goosens. They're going to catch him in a lap or 2. There's the car right there that I'm talking about, the silver. And Gurney is starting to try some alternative lines in these corners. Oh, and he's loose right there.
He lights it up coming out of turn 7.
And he's got to do something. He's got to find a way around that car in front of him, and he knows that Pruitt's not going to give him the inside on the 2 primary out-braking places. So Gurney now searching for another way, another area of the racetrack to find grip on. See right here, watch. Pruitt's not going to let that inside pass happen.
Third car in shot is not in contention. That is Christian Fittipaldi, if you've just joined us. He is not on the lead lap of this race, but he is running.
In a way, it's a pain because Christian's 11 laps down. I mean, I would say he's going to try to get his lap back, but that's just ridiculous. I mean, right now, he just is running the car for information, gathering information for next year. In the meantime, the 2 guys in front of him are locked into a really serious battle, and it has the championship implications for points.
Well, he lost those couple of laps because of a fuel pressure problem. Chiba Racing addressed that, and now he's running at a very impressive pace, the same as Pruitt and Gurney at the front. Pruitt was, of course, a Rolex Series champion in 2004. The man who shared the Ganassi machine with him in that year is standing by with Brian.
Max Pappas standing here watching the cars go by. Tracy Crone, I know you're working with him, trying to get him better and better. You started at Barber. How are things going this weekend?
First, let me say hi to Colin at home. I know you're on the couch. I hope you're having a good race. And no, Tracy, he had a problem in the beginning, and we're trying to bring the number 76 Pontiac car a little bit more in the front. He's going to drive for most of the time because, he's competing for the Truman Award. So maybe this time you guys are not going to see me much in the car, but I'm going to be back.
Well, he was sitting here drinking a diet soda and eating beef jerky earlier. Now, watching this championship battle, you've seen Scott in this position before as we see him come through. And then Christian Fittipaldi hanging there at the end. What's Christian going to do? What's Scott going to do? What's your take on the finish going to be?
I tell you, I think one thing is going to be is catching Scott, and one thing is passing him. He's a tough guy. He's one of my best friends, but at the same time, like I said, a 99 car, they're doing a great job all year long. For Christian, I don't know, I think he's a spectator as I am, but he's a spectator in the car. I'm a spectator outside the car.
Is he going to be content to sit there, understanding what's happening in front of him?
He's an intelligent guy. You know, I think he's not going to get into the mix. This is Scott Pruitt, Alex Gurney race, and let's see if we can get maybe another Pontiac car on the podium.
Christian just sitting there, getting a little airtime for Crown Royal, guys.
Well, let me correct myself, too, because Christian's not 11 laps down. I was looking at the wrong monitor there. He's only a couple laps down, but once again, you know, at this racetrack, to make up 2 laps would be awfully hard to do. But again, remember, we do have a Lucky Dog award. Hiffy should be able to get this 1 lap back, okay? And then he'll be the first car on the lead lap that's a lap down. If a caution comes out, he would then be placed back on the lead lap. So that's what why he is running that hard.
We're going to have a caution for that to happen.
Well, you need a caution, and maybe he won't be the one that makes it. But I mean, if he could get this lap back on the racetrack, well, then he's in good position, isn't he? We haven't had a caution-free race right now.
Let's give you the rundown. We know the top 2, of course. Donahue is actually slowly catching these guys. He was out to in excess of 8 seconds behind. It's now down to 5 seconds between Gurney and this man here, David Donahue. A very impressive run from the Brumos Porsche.
Well, I think Scott Pruitt, unfortunately, is not up to the speed of these cars behind him. He's doing a great job of keeping him back there. And I said, like I said before, if it was a 3-lap sprint to the end, he's in good shape. But we got a long way to go to be driving in a defensive posture.
Behind David Donahue, it's Michael Valiente. In the second Ganassi car for 4th position, Max Angelelli is still 5th. Ricardo Zonta, in his debut drive in the Rolex Sports Car Series, maintains 6th for Krone Racing. Then Shane Lewis, who's done an outstanding job as Valiente executes the pass on Tracy Krone. Mark Wilkins is 8th. Patrick Long remains 9th in the Ruby Tuesday Porsche. And then Oswaldo Negri for Mike Shank Racing is still in the 10. Here is Valiente. Had never driven at this circuit, incidentally. Had never raced at this circuit, I should say, until last year's Rolex Sports Car Series event here.
It's a very tricky circuit, not easy to learn because of the elevation, because of blind corners. Also, there's just some real tricks to the back part of the circuit. The S's back there, trying to get the rhythm between those is very important because done properly, you can almost do that flat out. Done improperly, and you can crash back there pretty big. They've changed the track, too. I mean, if people have been watching on TV, have seen this place. So this is the 3rd configuration of the track. The first configuration change was when the NASCAR guys came here. They made some new places to try to make it an easier track to pass on. And then now, of course, running with IRL, they've made a new section back by turn 10, a chicane back there for those guys. So different ways to race this course.
Valiente do anything about the guys in front? At the moment, he needs a caution to mix it and stand a chance of being on the podium. Will history repeat itself? That's the question that needs to be answered, and Scott Pruitt would certainly like it to, because here at Infineon a year ago, he drove the Ganassi Lexus all the way to victory lane with his then teammate Luis Diaz. New teammate, new situation in 2007. But he's still in the lead. He's being hounded by Alex Gurney in the Gainesco Auto Insurance Pontiac Riley.
His job is going to get more difficult because Mark Goosens, there you see him flash out of the screen. They're going to catch Mark Goosens, and then it's going to really make it even more difficult because you're going to have to try to find a way around Mark and then still hold Alex Gurney back. And then don't forget about Christian Fittipaldi back there trying to get a lap back if he can, too.
Isn't it amazing what happens in the life cycle of a driver's career? Alex Gurney, here he is, battling with one of the best drivers in American sports car and road race history. Alex first drove a Dodge Neon at this track. He has come a long, long way. We should give a shout out to Dan Gurney. His father, Dan, isn't here at the racetrack today, but he is at his home here in California watching. Dan, hi. Hope you're enjoying it. Don't be too nervous. Your son's doing a marvelous job.
He'll be going, oh, come on, get it up in there. Of course, Dan won the IndyCar race back here in 1970. That's just a few years ago. I think I started racing the year after that. You weren't born yet.
I wasn't born.
Oh.
Down into the hairpin, into turn 11, into the braking zone, and Alex gets even closer. Fittipaldi is still hanging with the 2 up front. Situation unchanged. and Pruitt unflappable. But I tell you what, Gurney is certainly trying some different options. Watch the different lines up here through turns 1 and 2.
He's trying two things there. He's trying to find a place. He's also trying to get Scott Pruitt to look at him, to pay more attention to the fact that he's making these funny little maneuvers, and hopefully make Scott make a mistake in the brake area somewhere where he can slip up in there. Then you got Goosens in front, too. That's going to be a factor here in about a lap.
While we're consumed by this incredible battle, shortly they will be joined by a driver. Whoa, Gurney gets a little sideways.
Got up on the curb. Remember I said in the middle of the afternoon here, this place gets real greasy. Always has been that way.
Tail stepped out. Keep an eye out, though, for David Donahue. He is only 3.7 seconds behind the 99. He is coming.
That's what we need. We need more friendly people up here in this battle.
And what's happened to Christian Fittipaldi? Is his fuel pressure problem kicking in again?
I believe it is. I think you see Christian Fittipaldi once again move offline, let everybody go. Listen.
Well, here's the deal. He went 30 laps last time before it became a problem. Now he's gone 25 laps, so he's getting into that same zone.
Yeah, and of course, once it starts to fall off, when he was in that battle, he let everybody go. That was a smart thing for him. He'll be pitting this lap, I'm pretty sure.
Well, while that's frustrating for Fittipaldi, it makes life a little easier if you're David Donahue, because he doesn't have to deal with the Crown Royal car.
Yep.
He can just continue to storm on up there.
He's on pit lane right now, so the 39 will come in and they'll have to put more fuel in it. That gets him out of that fray in the front, though, and that's probably a good thing.
So we lose the familiar sight of Christian Fittipaldi behind Pruitt and Gurney. We look for Donahue. There he is.
It makes it easier for Gurney, too. Now he can forget about having to defend from the rear. Now he can just concentrate on get up there and get past the Pruitt car.
Donahue lost a little bit of time negotiating his way around Osvaldo Negri. It's dropped back to 4.4 seconds, but now he's got them inside. It's a clear run up to the 99 of Alex Gurney.
And Gurney was loose again at the same spot as...
He's off! Alex Gurney is off the track down in the carousel.
I just said he was loose off the last corner. He loses that position.
Dirt all in the front end of that car in the air intake section. And grass as well.
Now it'll get interesting. That car was getting loose. I've been watching it. We saw it last lap. We saw it again. And he's off the road. Now, is that enough grass to have to come in and get cleaned out? Or is it going to overheat this engine?
Drama for Gainesco.
One little mistake. It doesn't take much here. It's a really slippery racetrack. We'll look again at what happens here. Here's Alex in the brakes. Oh, and look, the back just steps out. Good save. Great
catch.
save.
Great catch from Alex Gurney.
But it was not enough to keep it from getting out in that grass. Now, once again, look, he doesn't lock the tires up, doesn't lock the brakes up. He takes a nice, easy cut on the steering wheel and transitions back to the racetrack. Very good job. You usually crash if you get off there. You usually go straight on.
And the runoff area hasn't always been that generous.
No. It's much bigger than it used to be. That would have been a crash years ago.
Look at that.
No, he's good. He's good. There's not much on the front end. It's not enough to overheat. He'll be fine.
Well, Brian Till is standing by down in the Gainesco cab. Brian, what do you see?
Lee, I'm ferreting around, as they would say down here, and I'm sure the guys really don't want me looking at this, but I'm looking at data right now that's being sent back from the car. I'm looking at water temperature, and it's where it's been all day long, just in the yellow, about 190 degrees, so everything okay right there. Not a lot in the radiator. I was also talking to John Fogerty just before the incident. He said, we just don't have the balance that we want. I had a car that had a lot of understeer, and Alex may be fighting with that same thing. He hasn't said a word on the radio. He said these cars, if you have a handling problem and you get stuck up behind another one, it really steals the air off both the front end and the rear wing. So whatever handling deficiency you have, it's going to be magnified. Perhaps the car had gone loose on Alex, and being stuck up behind Scott Pruitt just loosened it up that much more.
Yeah, he's got sway bar adjustments in there that he can dial in and out front and rear to try to get the balance a little bit better. But this car is loose, Brian. We just saw once again Gurney touched the curb and the back of the car just jumped out from underneath him. Now, he's been driving really hard to get by Scott Pruitt. I think he's done tire damage to some degree.
It was a very hairy moment, but a very impressive and quick response from Alex Gurney. Here we go. As we roll the replay.
Or not roll a replay.
As we roll the replay.
It was a good save nonetheless.
Well, as Alex is back in the groove, let's update you on the 39 situation at Chiva Racing, Chris.
Lee, as we saw, that car had another hiccup there with the fuel pressure problem. Christian Fittipaldi brought the Crown Royal machine to pit lane to get more fuel. He did hand the car back over to Harrison Brick so Harrison could get some more laps out on the racetrack today. He only got that opening lap before he handed over to Christian Fittipaldi, and Harrison is going to run with them at Miller in just a few weeks. Now, the team obviously very disappointed with the mechanical problems with the car, but they've got to be a little bit happy to see that that car, as fast as it can go, it can not only run with the boys up front, it can race with them too.
You bet. 3.1 seconds last time round between Scott Pruitt and David Donahue, and Alex Gurney is not done with yet. He now begins the chase on Donahue.
And Pruitt's looking, he goes, now it's Donahue? He goes, you guys leave me alone.
All right, we're going to take a second look. Now it rolls.
Braking for the carousel, and you see the car get wicked loose. A great save by Gurney, but once it gets on this dirt, there's no way to stop it. The good news is he realizes not to hit that brake pedal, to let the car roll freely and to turn gently back toward that racing surface. As a result, he does not crash into the wall and does not spin the car.
That was enough to allow David Donahue in the Brumos Porsche to slip on by. So a new second place man, and Gurney plays catch up. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. Simple, fresh American dining from start to finish. And by Lexus and their pursuit of perfection. Welcome back, folks. Here in California, Lee Diffie, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville and Brian Till. Calvin Fish isn't with us today. He is up in Mosport in Canada on ALMS duties. And he is missing a very intriguing race. Pruitt leads over David Donahue in the 58 Red Bull machine. And one driver who we've seen in this over the time is standing by with Brian Till.
Indy 500 winner Buddy Rice in and down here in the Brumos camp. Buddy, great race going on. I know you got IRL duties this weekend, but you're a race car driver, not just an open wheel driver. I know you like to drive anything. We're going to see you back at maybe the Rolex 24 in a sports car?
Yeah, definitely, and also at the 1000K Utah here with Brumos, and I'll be back at the 24 Hours with Brumos as well. So just come in here, hang out with these guys. They're putting on a good show right now, and it's an exciting race. We're just having DP cars.
Yeah, you're another one of those drivers I think would like to see the GT cars out there. If you were out there, you need that help, you think?
I don't know. It looks good right now. I mean, we want to see, Brumos get their first win of the season here for Mr. Snodgrass. That'd be great. So, it's an exciting race. It's surprising to see how tight it is, actually, for just having DP cars.
Well, Buddy Rice, I know you like to drive the open wheel cars, but as you look down the road in your future, do you ever see a time where maybe a roof on your head might not be a bad thing and sports cars may be an option?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you well know, we all get older and our reaction times slow down a little bit. And it's great to come drive cars like this with a series that's got, this much people and championships and everybody that wants to come drive this stuff and the notoriety that it has. So, yeah, definitely in the future, I'd like to come drive here and maybe do it full time.
Dorsey, I think when he said, that you get old, I think he was talking about you. He wasn't talking about me.
He was talking directly to you. I heard that specifically. I was going to say that.
Defense there, Dorsey did say to Brian, as you well know.
As you well know. I wasn't involved in that.
Well, we're getting into a pit stop zone for Scott Pruitt. He has gone 42 laps since his last pit stop, since he took over from Memo Rojas. As we climb aboard the 60, Mike Shank Racing Lexus with Oswaldo Negri.
Well, it's interesting right now because Pruitt only leads Donahue by less than a second and a half, but guess what? Alex Gurney is catching back up to the back of Donahue, so it's gonna get interesting, and their pit stops have got to be coming soon.
Yeah, and the 58 and the 99, Brian, are in better shape fuel-wise than the 01.
Yeah, Lee, but it seems like everybody's so equal on the racetrack. I was just talking to Darren Law, and he goes, man, the car just isn't perfect right now. We've got a loose race car, obviously. Alex Gurney has one, too. He said, we need to figure out a way to win this thing on pit road. We're even thinking, could we maybe not take tires on this next stop? I don't know how we could do that. We'd get us out in front, but then we wouldn't have a car to make it to the end. But the question, Dorsey, it's so hard to pass on this racetrack. If you went out on old tires, could you block for the remaining of the race and keep the car out in front?
I don't think you could really, but I'll be honest with you, what they're thinking is exactly correct, because it's going to be a track position situation. All the cars are going to have to stop. How much fuel they put in them and so forth is going to be a variable. And tires, I don't think you can gamble on at this racetrack. This racetrack is slippery to begin with, and it does tire damage by the loading, as you see right here, coming through this carousel. You load those right side tires, and you just grind them away. I don't think you would be able to defend long enough.
Look at this, look at this. David Donahue has really caught Scott Pruitt rapidly. Up in the turn 7 area of this track, the downhill run. It doesn't look that downhill, but it is. TV's a little deceptive here at Infineon Raceway. Doesn't do the undulation of this place justice.
And amazingly enough, Mark Goosens never did get caught by Pruitt. He's still up there in front, so Mark's doing a good job. Now, Scott Pruitt, we hear, will pit this lap. We know he's the shortest on fuel. Let's see if he does.
He's off to the left. He is. Pruitt is in. 43 laps since his last stop, and he did all of them in the lead of this motor race. Now, last time round, Chris Neville, the Ganassi squad were brilliant with their stop. They need to do it again for Scott this time.
Lee, you're right. They probably, in my section of pit lane, they had the best pit stop. It was very quick. Scott was in the car and ready to go when the fuel was done. They've got scuffs on the wall. They're ready to go here. I asked Tim Keen, is this going to be a full fuel load, or is it going to be a little bit of a short stop? He said, we've got to do tires, so pretty much as soon as the tires are done, it's going to be a time stop on the fuel, so we're going to have to kind of watch the fueler here, see if he gets tapped on the back. Yep, one of the crew members is up on the wall. He's got that broomstick, so he's watching the watch, and he's also looking at the fuel tube up on that fuel tank on the wall, making sure he sees exactly how much fuel is going in the car. You know, we often see teams just going by the watch and getting it wrong, so he is watching that tank, making sure every gallon that they need goes in the car, and the fueler's still on the side of the car, waiting to see how much fuel is going in here, and he's going to tap that fueler any second, and Pruitt is down and away.
Needs about 32 laps worth of fuel to get home. The 10 is in. Angelelli, the 5th place car and championship contender.
Well, let's see what these guys do. I mean, usually what would happen, whatever Pruitt did, everyone else will have to do. And there's a miscue right there. Didn't cost him any time.
And released. 6 is in for Mike Shank Racing. So the final flurry of pit stops now happening. And the report is the 99 Gainsco car is on pit road. Alex Gurney is in. The team will assess that situation after his off-track excursion. Brian.
Gurney on the marks. It'll be scuffs on this car, and right now the battle is on pit road. Remember, we saw the mistake at Montreal that cost him a race win. We saw this car stall earlier today. This could be the difference, not only in the race win here today, guys, but this could be the championship. You see marks down the right-hand side of this car. A little mistake with the right front wheel gun. Fuel still going in. They're waiting on fuel. This is taking a long time. They tap the fueler, Gurney away.
You heard Brian say that they put scuffs on it. What that is, you could put sticker tires on that are brand new. Now, sticker tires would take about a lap to come up to temperature and pressure. Those scuffs have been run before. They have got more grip on the first lap out, and that's what they're looking for.
Chris, we just caught the tail end of the 23 Ruby Tuesday stop. What's the assessment there?
Yeah, Lee, they're having a little bit of a tough day. They had a first stop that was very slow because they took some time getting Pat Long behind the wheel. Now Pat Long coming in, said he was picking up a vibration. He thought he had a flat spot, so nothing unusual about the stop. Fuel and tires. Pat Long right now sitting in 9th, just inside that top 10. This team has had a lot of speed the last few races. Just some unlucky incidents on the racetrack. Today, everything is clean. They just don't have a car that has the speed. Typically, we've seen Max Crawford here this week, other weekends helping this team out. However, he's not here this weekend because we're just about a week away for the Smittles for the next generation cars. And I talked to Alex Job about this. He said they are aggressively working on that next generation car. It's going to be awesome.
High fives all around at Gainsco, and that's why, because Alex Gurney got out in front of Scott Pruitt. That's why Bob Stallings, Kyle Brannon and John Fogarty were thrilled. They were delighted with what their team, their boys did in that stop to service Gurney so quickly and get him out with a margin over Pruitt.
Great job, gets that. I mean, that pass in the pit lane's a lot easier pass to make. As you can tell from what we've been watching, it's tough on the racetrack, but these guys nailed that pit stop. Hats off to the Gainsco guys. That's a tough group to beat, too. I mean, Ganassi's guys are no slouches.
Now, while we're away, while we were watching all of that action, check this out. Ricardo Zonta.
Oh, again, same kind of scenario that you saw Gurney make. That's the carousel. Got the little wiggle at the top. And the same result. It gets him off the outside, and good car control gets him back on the racetrack. But same exact scenario. There's another look from down below. Shows you kind of the elevation change. You really come down a steep hill right there.
And again, that very generous runoff area.
Now he's
prevented two cars from being trashed.
He's got a radiator inlet full of debris. We didn't see that with Gurney, but this car does have quite a bit of it.
So with Gurney and Pruitt pitting, David Donahue has inherited the lead of this motor race. And he will be in shortly for a fascinating end to round 13 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. Who will get it? We'll find out in the next 30 odd laps. We're back and we're at the Southern Motorsports pit. And Chris, this has been a very strong run from Shane Lewis.
Yeah, Shane Lewis bringing this car all the way up into the top 5. Obviously, they're going to give up a couple spots on the racetrack right now. Randy rolling them and getting belted in. Fuel and tires and already done. Randy down and away.
Steve Southern and the team were delighted with Shane's qualifying performance yesterday to put this car, the PLP Lexus, 7th place on the grid. Outstanding performance. Shane had a giggle this morning. He said, I almost got Gidley. It was so close. There wasn't much between us.
Oh, look at this. New fastest lap. Gurney is on the move.
We're expecting race leader David Donahue in shortly, within the next 1 or 2 laps, Dorse. So the 58 will come in. That means that'll be a short fill. He has been able to go the longest.
It won't be short enough to keep Gurney from taking that lead, I'm sure of that. And of course, he's out in front of Pruitt and has just set the fastest time. Like a 128 would be pole position time and a really slippery racetrack. So
Donahue's in. Here he is. Race leader is in. Pressure on the Brumos camp. This needs to be fast, it needs to be timely, and it needs to be executed perfectly, Brian.
This team, these drivers fast all weekend long. They've run at the front. They've led this race. They'd love to come away with the victory. Crew over the wall. Fuel goes in. Tires are set out. Yep, they're going to change them. And it scuffs. Looks like right side tires only, though. I don't see any tires set out on the left. Crew changing to right side tires. It will be a shorter fill. Lee, you talked about it. Right side tires only. Donahue's down. Fuel's still going in. Engine is running. They tap the fueler. He's out. Donahue away.
You know what? He can still get out in time because Alex Gurney is heading down into turn 11 at the moment. David Donahue could keep the lead of this motor race. This is pressure.
45 miles per hour is so slow when you see those guys whipping by. Watch on top of the screen. You're going to see the red car. Here he comes.
He's going to keep the lead. He's going to keep the lead of this motor race. Excellent work, Brumos.
Yeah, great job, boys. I tell you what, though, there's a gamble. Can he make it on 2 tires? There's Gurney coming up the hill. He's got his tires up to pressure, up to temperature. Now, Donahue's got to put in a tremendous lap right here.
He has Brian Frizzell right behind him, so there's a car in between Donahue and, Brian Frizzell looks on the inside for a way by David Donahue. The Red Bull Brumos machine keeps the lead of the race, but for how much longer? Gurney is really in the zone.
When you take 2 tires on a road racing car on the outside only, when you take one side, the car is very mismatched. It's unbalanced because the other tires, you understand, are up to temperature, they're up to pressure. The 2 that you just put on are not yet up to temperature or pressure. The car is not equally balanced. It takes 2 or 3 laps before that car gets to be where it feels good to you again.
Brian?
Remember, guys, they said we have got to do something. We've got to gamble. They did. They have won so far. But the big question for Alex Gurney is, remember Bob Stalling said, if we leave here and we don't have the points lead, that's okay as long as we finish in front of Pruitt. How far will Alex Gurney push it? If he can get in front of David Donahue and put Donahue in between himself and Scott Pruitt, that's even more points he'll pick up. But how much do you risk? This Red Bull team, they significantly want this win, guys, and be there first.
It's been years since the 58 has been on top of the podium. 2003 at Mont Tremblant. It has been a long, long time. And David Donahue and Darren Law's patience is wearing thin. Wouldn't this be a special time? Brumos, as a team, has won here at Infineon Raceway, but it was way back in 1979 with the late Peter Gregg at the helm of his Porsche 935.
That was just a wonderful piece of strategy that the Brumos guys just played out there. I hope for their sake that this does work. It'd be wonderful for them to be able to win this first one. It'd be great for everybody, the team, but I really suspect that the car is not going to be up to the speed for long. The 99 is too strong.
Porsche, Pontiac, Lexus in the top three. Ricardo Zonta had inherited the lead momentarily, but he has been on pit road, serviced and gone. Brian, what do you have?
Mike Colucci calls the shots down here at Brumos for the 58 car. Mike, you look cool as a cucumber. That was quite the gamble there. What do you think? Is he going to have enough to hold on?
Yeah, I think so. David's been doing an awesome job, and the car's been doing great. Let's hope for the best.
I know the car's been fast the entire time, but only 2 tires against Gaines Coast 4. It got you out ahead of him. Will it keep you ahead of him?
We'll see. We'll see how good David is.
You heard it, guys.
The quietly spoken Mike Colucci, but a man who has been in sports cars for decades. So these two settle into a rhythm now. They have a slight margin over Scott Pruitt, a comfortable margin over Pruitt. Let's hear from a man who has driven a brilliant race thus far for Southern Motorsports. Chris?
Yeah, Lee, well, David's got a big drive in front of him right now. Shane Lewis just got out of the car after a big drive in the PLP car. You pushed it up into the top 5. Shane, you kind of changed the strategy here today. Obviously, it worked well.
It did work well. We knew that qualifying here in track position is going to be so totally important, and I love this racetrack. It's a driver's track, you know. If you dig real hard, you get results, and I can't thank the guys enough for, you know, giving me a really good car. So that's what we're doing, is digging and digging.
We always get excited to see when this team does well, because they're just kind of one of those smaller teams that breaks through a couple times a year and has a really good result.
Yeah, we congratulate them. Very solid performance in qualifying in the race thus far. Randy Ruhlman climbs behind the wheel of that Lexus-powered car right now as David Donahue has a massive challenge on his hands to keep the red machine behind him, and Alex Gurney, who's been driving brilliantly. We'll be back. Tomorrow night, as always, at 7 p.m. Eastern, we go beyond the highlights, beyond the stats. We give you plenty more. The Speed Report. It's a busy weekend in the world of motorsport. NASCAR at Bristol, F1 from Turkey. Of course, the IndyCar Series and sports cars here in Sonoma. This gripping battle continues. Fabulous sports car driving from David Donahue and Alex Gurney at the front of this field. There's also some very good humor and camaraderie in the Rolex Series paddock. Of course, Scott Pruitt always says hi to his wife Judy and his kids at home in Auburn, California, and the other boys here in the paddock are giving him a hard time about it.
Well, his kids require it. They get mad at him if he doesn't do it. And of course, David Donahue said it one time, and his youngest son said to him, "Daddy, why did he do that?" And he said, "Oh, it's just a joke. They're having fun." He goes, "I don't think I like that man."
Well, let me tell you something interesting as we continue to enjoy this scrap for first. The points as of now would be Pruitt with a 2-point advantage over Angelelli, Fogarty and Gurney, who would be tied for second on 382. Pruitt on 384. That's as it stands now. If it remains like this for the next 22 laps.
Boy, and if it remains like this for the next 22 laps, Alex Gurney's going to be a whipped puppy at the end of this. He has had to drive so hard in his 2 stints now. He's really had to apply the pressure, first with Pruitt, now with Donahue trying to find a way around. And I said it before, this racetrack is just not easy to pass on. There's no good opportunities around here. One of them's right here.
Not to forget the scare earlier in the race, heading into the carousel. Car stepped out. If you've just joined us, Alex Gurney had a very scary ride. It's getting taily again out of turn 7, down towards the S's.
And there you can see why it's getting taily. Look at all of the debris on the racetrack. It's a very dirty racetrack right now. They've been running on this place all day long. And the cars, if you get offline, they just get under marbles and there's nothing you can do. It's a one-line racetrack right now. So if you make an attempt to pass, you really put yourself in jeopardy. He looks here.
4 years since the 58 from Brumos has been at the top of the podium. It has been a long wait. Mike Colucci, the dear friend of the late Bob Snodgrass, how much it would mean to get a victory in this year, the year of Bob's passing.
Now remember, in the 99, Alex Gurney points-wise, does not need to get by the Brumos car. He's in front of Pruitt, which is what he needs to be, but I got to tell you, Gurney has driven so hard, I don't think that's going to stop him. I think he's going to still try to get this car in between, for the points, where he's just got to go to the front no matter what it takes. He's starting to take little peeks, Lee. He looks to the inside, he looks to the outside. He's trying to find any little place. Now, get a better run off this corner, and it runs you down the back straightaway and into turn 7, where you can make. Now he looks to the inside, now back to the out. Oh, that's very close.
One side, then the other, shadowing David Donohue, trying to force the man in the Red Bull car into an error. To update you on another positional change during that last round of stops, it was a good one from the 10 SunTrust Wayne Taylor team, because they were able to leapfrog Michael Valiente in the Z-Line Designs Lexus Riley. So Valiente pushed back to 5th, Angelelli promoted to 4th. That shows you how important that was in the points chase to be tied. Look at Gurney is growing impatient.
Remember what Brian Till said too, and that is when you're tucked up really close underneath the back of one of these other cars, you lose the aero downforce on the nose. Your car is in a slipstream, which helps it in straightaway acceleration, but you don't have any downforce for the corners on the nose. And that's exactly what I saw happen last time. But on the other hand, Alex has got to be close enough to that when he gets in these brake zones, he can mount an attack for that out-brake maneuver.
Well, what's the communication from the Gainsco team, from Bob Stallings, from Kyle Brannon, the race engineer, from John Fogarty, who gets on the radio a lot as well? Brian, what's happening down there at the Gainsco camp?
Well, Lee, obviously they're watching very intently right now. Bob Stallings looking at the screen. I'll let you get back to it as soon as I can. You said if we leave here and we don't have the points lead, that's okay, but I don't think anybody told Alex that. Is he going for it, or are you guys going to be content to just gain on Scott Pruitt and Max Angelelli?
No, I think actually if we finish where we are right now, I'm fine with that. We got a lot of time left. Alex knows what to do. If he gives us any opening at all, we'll get by him, but we're not going to crash to do that.
You heard him, guys. They're going to be smart about this, but trying to hold the reins back on Alex Gurney, you said he's going for it, guys.
You have to think about, too, a lot of the personnel on that team, they're in a foreign situation as far as knowing what it's like to be in a championship-winning situation. John Fogarty is a 2-time Atlantic champion. Kyle Brannon is a 2-time Atlantic-winning engineer with Hoover Rossi and Anthony Lazzaro. They know the feeling, but for guys like Alex Gurney and others, at this level of motorsport, this is a foreign feeling. To be in a championship-winning position and how you play it out from here. You know what it's like.
Absolutely. And the Brumos guys, a completely different scenario. Their scenario, they have not won a race in a long time. They want this first win. They lost Bob Snodgrass. This would be a great tribute to him to be able to put this car back in victory lane. So, I mean, there's two different scenarios playing out right now. They're not going to win the championship. Gurney's guys can win the championship, but they might be able to win their first race of the year and in many years, and that is huge.
It's now been made official from race control that this is a timed race. You can see the countdown clock at the top. 28 minutes remain here at Infineon Raceway. Round 13 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. It was John Fogarty in the Gainsco car who started from pole. Nick Johnson outside. It was a good scrap early between the 58 of Darren Law and Nick Johnson for Krone Racing. There has been no major incidents. There has been no yellow caution period. This has been a green flag race. And we saw it earlier this year in the Rolex Series at Mid-Ohio. We went flag to flag, all green. Chris, tell us more about Pruitt. What's going on there?
Well, Brian just talked about the communication from 99 to pit lane. Also, a lot of chatter between the 0-1 and pit lane. Scott Pruitt, a bit concerned about the handling of the 0-1 right now, saying the car is very inconsistent, nothing like it was earlier. Tim Keen's reply was, Scott, don't worry about it. We just need you to do laps out there. We're not in the battle at the front, but as long as that 58 car can stay in front of the 99, we can hold this points lead, and it's about points right now. So don't do anything stupid on the racetrack. Don't take any risks. Just do your laps, and hopefully that 58 can beat the 99.
Well, just to change gears for a moment, and speaking of Ganassi, on a very, very sad note, and it was with great shock and surprise that when we all packed up and went home from the most recent round at Watkins Glen, the Ganassi team lost one of their engineers, Travis Bickle, at just 38 years of age. He lost his life to a stroke. but ever since the age of 16, Travis Bickle was very determined that whenever it was in life that he passed, he was going to be an organ donor. Now, his wife Lisa knew this, and they also knew that fellow Ganassi team member Mike O'Gara's father-in-law was in need of a kidney transplant. And when it became obvious that Travis was going to lose his life, Lisa rang the O'Gara family. They made sure that he was compatible, and Mike O'Gara's father-in-law received that kidney, and a lovely end to what was a tragic story. So in memory of Travis Bickle, the Ganassi boys have heavy hearts today, and Travis, you will be sadly missed. We're back here in Sonoma, California, Infineon Raceway for the Armed Forces Grand Am 250, and this is a thrilling battle. This is a thrilling race between David Donahue and Alex Gurney for round 13 of the Rolex Series. We heard from Bob Stallings, the principal at Gainesco, and he said, I think my man's going to go for it. We've seen evidence of that while we're away in the commercial break. Alex Gurney is growing impatient. He's looking for a way by Donahue, but credit to David Donahue. The Brumos pilot is doing brilliantly.
Doing great, but remember, David Donahue, every lap around the circuit has another 2.5 miles on those left side tires that they did not change. Now that is starting to play into the hand of Alex Gurney. The 58 car now is starting to back up a little bit. It's losing the grip that it had at first, and Alex sees it. He wants it.
Check this out. Where's it going to happen, Dorsey? Where's the best place for Alex to make his move?
Well, he can try to do a sneak attack right here. I saw him come off this corner a lot harder last lap. A yellow flag right there for something, so he's not going to do it this time. But in any event, the best place to do it is going to be into 7. Every time they get down to turn 11, the good braking part, there. Now see, he keeps starting to move to the inside. David's not going to give up that one brake zone, just like Pruitt would. So it's up to Alex now to find a place, and he's looking at some of these places. This is where he had his trouble earlier. I don't think he'll be brave here.
2 second-generation racers, 2 sons of legends. David Donahue, the son of Mark, and Alex, the son of Dan.
Here's the spot he really needs to get it done. But you see David goes to the inside. That's not blocking. I mean, he's just not going to give up that inner line off that corner.
Riley chassis cars make up the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go on 8 places in this race, but different power plants. It's a Porsche that leads this race over a Pontiac, over a Lexus.
Be a great day for Porsche, too.
Porsche are in a great fight with Lexus for second place in the manufacturers, in the engine manufacturers race. So this would help if David Donahue and Darren Law can get it all the way to victory lane with just 22.5 minutes remaining here in California.
Here he comes. Look, he's right tucked up underneath the back. The brake zone up in turn 2, it's a possibility he can get it done there. But it's risky because you go up this hill, and when you get to the apex right there, you come over the brow of the hill, the car gets loose. It's an easy way to get in trouble. He's not desperate to have to make this pass, but I just know how badly he wants to win this race. On the other hand, the Brumos guys haven't won in a long time. David Donahue, it'd be a sweet day for them.
How sweet it would be. I mentioned earlier in this race that the 58 team has been in the top 10 in every single event in 2007, bar the season opener at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, where they placed 20th.
There's the whole trick, to come off the bottom of that carousel and be able to put power down, get a run going, and use that speed up here. It'd have to be a lot of speed because David's not going to give that inside up. You'd have to make it around the outside. I've seen it done. It can be done.
Further back in the field, I want to give a shout out to Mark Goosens from Riley Matthews Racing. He was down in the teens and has worked his way through this field up into 7th. Look at Gurney riding the curbs. He's desperate to get by David Donahue. 21 minutes to go. And it would be a record 7th victory in the Rolex Sports Car Series in 2007. He would eclipse Terry Borchella's record from 2003.
Alex takes that tighter line off of turn 11. That tighter line gets you around the corner better, but you can't usually get the power to go down because it's a tighter radius. You can't put the power down without sliding the tires. You got to wonder on Donahue's case how long the 2-tire strategy, how long can he just stay there like that? He's doing a great job of driving the car. You keep him pretty smooth. You see he's not sliding it around. The more aggressive of the two, of course, is Gurney. He has to be.
Well, it worked out. It was just a perfect pit stop from the Brumos boys. The Gainsco gang did a sensational job as well. And they were both better in the fuel stakes. It was Pruitt who went longer, who needed more fuel. And that pit stop was more costly time-wise than these two guys. Incidentally, Pruitt has reduced his margin between he and Alex Gurney. It's down now to 6.3 seconds. It was out as much as 8.5 seconds.
If Gurney could cut back right here and get the nose underneath, he'd have a chance of getting down through these S's quicker, but the cars are too equal. They're just not enough difference in speed to get it done. But boy, look at him riding the curbs, like you said last time, really using the car.
He's been investigating the opportunities down into turn 11, the hairpin. He looks at the inside, but every time Donohue is equal to the task as he goes to the inside. Very defensively.
He's going to try to swing back underneath him here, over by those tires you see. But you can't get the power down. It's really frustrating around this racetrack sometimes.
On Tremblant 2003 with his co-driver Mike Borkowski. The last time the 58 saw the checkered flag with a clear track ahead.
Oh, right there, Donohue in a little trouble. He got a little twitch. Shows the pressure is being applied. It's starting to get to him a little bit, and those tires they're definitely suspect at this point, I would say.
We know the top three. It's San Angelelli 4, Valiente 5, Zonta in his debut performance 6th, Goosen 7th, Brian Frizzell for AIM Autosport 8th, Patrick Long 9th, and Oswaldo Negri rounds out the top 10 with less than 20 minutes to go. To Chris Neville for an update. What do you have, Chris?
Well, Lee, I know we don't want to go off this battle up front because it is just so great, but just a little ways back in 5th place, Michael Valiente having a great battle with Ricardo Zonta, who's just right behind him in the 75 car. Valiente saying he's got a great car today. He needs a caution to try and catch up with the leaders, but something kind of ironic with Zonta right behind him in the 75 car. That's the car that is the whole reason. These two cars having contact the past few races, the whole reason that Colin Brown out of that car for this race. And a bit ironic that, once again, great battle between those cars on the racetrack today.
Well, we know that Colin Brown's ARCA Remax Series debut race is coming up. We wish you well for that, Colin, and we look forward to having you back in the Rolex Sports Car Series at Miller Motorsports Park in just a couple of weeks' time.
It's not going to be long. I think Gurney really now applying the pressure. He's picking up those subtle little inches that you need. Here, take a look. I mean, he's getting runs made now. He's starting to get runs made in places where it's going to benefit him.
Well, he's had
right
time.
Here, look.
He's had time just to check out where he thinks he may be able to get David Donohue.
He's been setting him up for a pass, and he's also making Donohue really run the car hard, which is what you need to do for those tires. Here he goes. Takes a look to the inside, thinks not, but I just see it coming.
Track report that Randy Ruhlman had an off-track excursion, but is okay, has returned to the racing surface. And as we go back to talking about Zonta, we continue to watch this, but Zonta has performed very well for his first time in a Daytona prototype.
Unbelievably well, but this is a very experienced driver in many different types of cars, so it doesn't surprise me he can sit in there and get the job done right away. Wow, look at that. Gurney, really, they got big understeer that time. He tried to, oh, now, look. Clips the curb, gets really loose off the corner.
And we're hearing a report that the 19, Michael Valiente, is on pit road. And that's what our timing and scoring monitor is telling us as well. And there it is. Chris, are you still at that end of the pits?
Yeah, Michael Valiente bringing the 19 car to pit lane here. He's saying that something is broken. It sounds like with the steering, he's trying to turn the wheel, and something is just hanging up. Now, the car looks like it's in pretty good shape. He's had some contact out there today, mostly on the side of the car. But the team trying to take the nose off the 19 machine. Take a look at that. Michael Valiente's turning the wheel back and forth, seeing if something is loose or broken on the front end up in the steering rack. But this is definitely going to hurt their chances with such a good top 5 run today.
Elevates Ricardo Zonta to a top 5 position, and Mark Goossens into the top 6. Is this the cause of it? Randy Ruhlman ahead, Michael Valiente, oh, and there it is.
Yeah, that would be the cause of it, I'm pretty sure. Pretty good whack there with Randy Ruhlman.
It speaks for itself.
These guys looking for something obvious and not really finding it.
So the end of a very solid run that started with young English driver Alex Lloyd behind the wheel will return to the front. David Donahue in the Red Bull. Brumos Porsche continually being hounded by Alex Gurney in the Gainsco Auto Insurance Pontiac-powered Riley.
And only 15 minutes to get this pass made. It's a long time when you're battling as hard as these guys have been. David Donahue doing a great job. And that whole Brumos team, that strategy was just was the call they needed to make. Everybody was completed with their pit stops. They knew what they had to do to get track positioning, and that was take 2 tires, not 4.
Is Gurney going to be able to execute this safely?
I doubt it, because I don't think David Donahue is going to allow it to happen safely. He's going to make it very tight. If it happens, it's going to be under protest from Donahue.
Superb performance from David Donahue. It is not easy to handle this pressure lap after lap. When we return on the other side of this break, we're going to take it commercial free all the way to the checkered flag. For those of you who may have tuned in late, let's bring you up to speed as to what has gone down here at Infineon Raceway today. John Fogarty for the 99 Bob Stallings Gainsco team starts from pole for the 10th time for that team this season. Early in the race, JC France spins heading down into the carousel unharmed. Tracy Crone had trouble firing the 76 Pontiac up and needed some extra help from his team. John Fogarty did a stellar job early on, handed over to Alex Gurney. He also stalled the car, finally got it fired and went back out there to fight with this man here, Scott Pruitt. And then Alex had his own hairy moment. Up over the top of the hill, heading down into the carousel, ran wide but had plenty of space and ground to play with. There was then a furious battle and a frantic battle in the pits. It was all about time and all about fuel. Pruitt was the first one who needed it, and it was a lengthy stop. He needed the most in the tank to get it going. Good stop from the Gainsco crew. This brought the applause and high fives of people like the team owner Bob Stallings and co-driver John Fogarty as Gurney lit it up. But it was the guys at Brumos who had the fastest stop. They needed the least fuel. And they did a two-tire stop to service David Donahue so quickly he was able to get out ahead of the hard-charging Alex Gurney. And that brings us right up to the battle that we have got right now. You've missed absolutely nothing while we've been away. And isn't it a fascinating point scenario?
How could
with just one round to go?
How in the world can you get any closer than this? It's unbelievable. Of course, it's not over yet, so hopefully for the guys in contention, none of them have trouble. That would bring in an interesting round when we get to Miller Motorsports Park, Salt Lake City, Utah. It will be a finale closer than anything I've ever seen amongst 4 drivers.
Back at the front, Donahue and Gurney. Brian, talk more about the 99.
Obviously, Alex Gurney doing everything he can to get by, but they're having to look in their mirrors at that 91 car for a while. But Bill Riley walked down here from Riley Matthews Technologies and said, hey, guys, talk to Kyle Brandon and John Fogarty and Bob Stallings. He said, I just told Mark to back off. I understand you guys are in a championship fight. It's yours. So right now, Alex Gurney can pay attention straight out the front windshield, guys.
Wow, we're hearing reports that Max Pappas in the 76, or is it Tracy Crone? Tracy Crone's still in that car, is stuck out on course, and he may need retrieving. Is this going to bring out our first yellow with less than 10 minutes to go?
It could. Unfortunately, it could. I mean, they can also send a truck out there and tow him out of the way, tow him down to the drag strip, depending on where he is. We haven't seen the car yet, but there's some places around here that they could tow him off the course and not. There the car is right there. You see it off against the rail.
It's just tucked off to the side there.
And we're not hearing any talk of a full course. There's Tracy Crone. He's still in the car, and he's trapped. But he looks to me like he's in a safety zone, in a safe area.
Okay, we've just had official word from race control that they feel he is in a safe enough position that they have deemed they are not going to go and retrieve the 76 Crone Racing Pontiac from the circuit. So that leaves it as a clear and open battle at the front for the lead for the win of round 13 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. Can it be the first victory in 4 years for the guys in the blue machine, in the Red Bull Porsche, David Donahue and Darren Law? That would be brilliant. It would be a very emotional victory, but emotion, we'll push that aside. It's all about business for the 99. They want a championship, not just an extra race win.
Alex Gurney is trying a really tricky line up through turn 1 and turn 2. He's turning in very late from the outside of 1. What it does is gives him a straighter shot as he approaches 2, where he can get on the throttle. It gives him some speed with the hopes of being able to duck to the inside at some point and make that pass. He's thinking about passing in turn 2. I can read it right now. I know that's what he's thinking.
In the background, you see the silver Riley Matthews car. Mark Goossens behind the wheel is now in 6th. That would be their 3rd top 6th in the last 3 races. That team is coming on strong. Credit to Jim Matthews, who always qualifies and starts. He's getting better and better every round.
And a classy act by Riley to call him up and say, back away from these guys. This is really good stuff up in front of you. I know. We know we want to run with him, but let these guys have this war to themselves.
Scott Pruitt, the championship leader and 3rd in points, and continues to catch these guys. He's going to catch them a whole lot more because the yellow does fly. They are going to go and catch and retrieve Tracy Crow.
Wow.
He ducked up the inside, but then he realized it's a double yellow. It's a full course yellow. With just 7.5 minutes to go, the yellow flies.
So it's going to come down to a restart. It's going to come down to which of these 2 guys is able to get up to the speed the quickest on the restart. I would give the advantage to Gurney on the fact that his tires are newer. Now, when they're going slow behind this pace car, we saw how dirty the racetrack is. It's going to be really easy to pick up a lot of debris on your tires to really get those tires cooled down, and all that debris is going to stick to them. You're going to have to really shake it off, and an older tire has a harder time coming back after it cools down than a newer one does. That's what I'm talking about. The advantage in my mind will go to the 99.
So, the Porsche Riley leads this race. Talking of Porsche, we thank our friends at Porsche for bringing us this final run to the checkered with no commercial interruptions. And the pressure is on David Donohue's shoulders like you wouldn't believe. How are they handling it, Gainesco? Let's find out.
Bob Stalling standing here with his arms crossed right now. I know it's hard to believe that full course caution came out, but this car seems to be so good on restarts. These drivers so good in getting up to speed so quickly. Really, is it a blessing or a curse for you guys?
Well, I mean, actually, who knows at the end of the day? We're okay where we are right now. We're making ground on the 2 guys we're actually racing for the championship. I'd rather be in first, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Of course, the other problem is Scott Pruitt now right on the back wing of you guys. What do you tell Alex about that?
He's okay with that. He's not going to get by him. No way.
Still a lot of confidence down here at Gainesco. Remember, these guys have been so fast on the restarts. Keep your eyes on them, Chris.
Well, down at the Brumos camp, Mike Colucci on the radio with David Donohue right now. Mike, as tight as that battle was, is this caution a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's probably going to be okay because, you know, when the tires cool down, the grip level comes back. So David's doing an awesome job keeping Gurney behind him.
Now, we know he only took 2 tires on that stop, but the 99 has just been awesome on starts and restarts this year. Because of that, can you keep the car behind you?
Well, you know, what we have noticed is that, you know, that like I said, the tires don't really go off. They just, when they warm up, they kind of lose their edge a little bit. So when they're cool, you know, when Gurney left, he did a 28 right out of the box. But once the tires got hot, couldn't get by him.
Oh, Mike Colucci thinking that caution not too big of a problem, giving David Donohue a little bit of a break here for a last lap dash. But as we've seen so far, very difficult to get around the 58 car in this racetrack.
Now, this is what's interesting. Behind the pace car, we're going to get the first Lucky Dog Award where the car lap down gets to go around and get that lap back. That person happens to be Mark Goossens.
Who clears the way for Pruitt.
Mark Goossens is in front of Pruitt, in between where Pruitt needs to go. He will now go around, and the top 3 will restart. As you see, he's already gone. He's out of the picture. They will now be 1, 2, 3 with 4 minutes, less than 4 minutes to go. Basically, a 2-lap sprint is what we're looking at.
It's perfect. The top 3 in the championship, the top 3 in the race. It's ideal. And speaking of these top 3 contenders, let's have a listen to what they have to say about this chase for the championship.
Right now, you got to focus on one at a time. We're here at Infineon. We're focused on getting the most out of the car, getting the most out of Memo, and having a great race. That's really going to set up things for the last race. I mean, are you going to be third in the championship, or we're going to be leading the championship, because it can flip-flop pretty quickly depending on what takes place in this race this weekend. And then I'll set the tone for how we approach the last race at Salt Lake.
They are different, definitely, and I want to take a different approach. This is, like you said, this is a sprint race by ourselves. So what I want to do is try to be on the top 3, sort of survive, and then conclude the championship in the last race. I don't want to jeopardize the championship here at Sears Point.
The last race is going to be a long race, but I mean, if it's anything like what we had at the 6 Hour at the Glen, it's kind of a sprint anyways. So no difference in approach. We want to win both, and we're just going to try to come up with a fast car and, you know, drive the you-know-what out of it for whether it's 2.5 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours, no difference. So, and I'm sure the 01 and the 10 are going to be doing the same thing, so we'll stand on it.
The thoughts of the men vying for a championship. And we have just minutes remaining in this race. Lights are out on the safety car and the pace car. This one and only caution period has come to an end. This is now a sprint race. It's a drag race to the end for the final 2.25 minutes here at Infineon Raceway. Can David Donohue do it for Brumos Racing, for his late team principal Bob Snodgrass? There's a lot of emotion involved in this, and we are green. It's the race to the checkered flag.
Figured 2 laps. That's about what it is. Watch now. Gurney trying to work up. And look how Pruitt goes to the inside. Pruitt's trying to get in there.
Donohue was ultra defensive heading up the hill into turn 2. It almost created a concertina effect. Now Gurney's looking for an option one way, then the other. He's got to keep an eye on the rear though, because here comes Scott Pruitt. Inside move from Gurney. He's got him.
He makes it stick, and watch Scott. Scott might try for it. No, he doesn't. That's it. Gurney, great move.
That's where he faded to. That's where he looked every single lap to see if he could get by David Donohue there, and he said, I'm going for it now. The question has been answered. He did it forcefully and cleanly.
And he got a little help, if not, by Scott Pruitt. When Scott Pruitt popped to the inside, it forced Gurney to have to make that move, whether he wanted to or not. If he didn't make it, Scott was going to.
Now what's Pruitt got left at the end here? There's a margin between he and Donohue. And can David Donohue in turn do anything about Alex Gurney? At this stage of the race, less than a minute to go, I don't think so.
Remember, Max Angelelli's in 4th place in this thing. He's back. He's got some cars between them, but he's not out of this either. Now, let's see if they get a white flag indicating when to go. It's not a mandatory flag. They don't have to put it out. Here is the 10, riding with the 10.
Inside at the hairpin at turn 11, gets by Christian Fittipaldi.
There's the white flag. We are now officially on in last lap.
On our way home, and Gurney and Fogarty are on their way to a record-setting 7th win in a single Rolex Series Daytona Prototype Championship. Here's the replay.
And watch
how
Alex
it all
Gurney.
happened.
And Pruitt is really pivotal in this. Watch Scott Pruitt in the 3rd car. When he makes the pop, he forces Gurney. Right here, Gurney's got to defend. In doing so, it gives him the inside line. He gets in better, brakes, and takes that lead over. Now, it was Scott Pruitt who made the first move.
Well, the Brumos team will be gutted, but they have put up such a great fight. A tremendous drive from David Donohue and Darren Law. This team, it's their season. You just feel that way, don't you? The 99 team, the Gainsco group.
But they've got new competition, don't they? I mean, what they had that was so dominant before, everyone is sneaking up on them. The Brumos guys, I've got a broken heart that they didn't win this race, because I really would like to have seen that happen. But they're there. They're right there. Their car is good.
Rough calculations on the run. I think that the 99 will have a 1-point lead going into Utah, but we'll confirm that post-race. The California connection is going to do it. John Fogarty and Alex Gurney here in their home state, victorious for a record-setting 7th time in 2007. Gurney and Fogarty do it again. How about that in the most dramatic style? They keep this championship even more interesting, so intriguing, so exciting. And Bob Stallings gives his wife Linda a kiss, a congratulatory kiss. They've got some 60 Gainsco agents here this weekend, and they perform superbly, right when they had to. The Red Rocket does it again. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is brought to you by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. By Ruby Tuesday, simple, fresh American dining from start to finish. And by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute. And there's no substitute for success, and that's what the Gainsco crew has had plenty of in season 2007. Brian Till.
That's right. You talk about success. These boys have had it. John Fogerty, Alex Gurney, 7 victories on the season. Sets a record for all-time win. But more importantly, you got the championship lead. First time all season. Yeah. This one was not easy. Tell me about the drama.
Well, it was drama the whole way through. We came out a little behind on the pit stop with the first time. And I caught up to Pruitt. And he put a little bit of dirt on the track in front of me, and I slid, trying to follow him, and it's right before you come over that rise to the carousel, so car gets very light, and just a little bit of dirt was enough to put me off. Anyways, the car was good enough to catch back up to the guys, and had a great pit stop, got out ahead, or we thought, and then had that battle with the Brumos car with Donahue, who really did an excellent job. Didn't make a mistake the whole way, and if it wasn't for that last yellow, I don't think I would have got him. So hats off to him. And anyways, what a day for Gainsco Racing, my teammate John Fogerty, and we're in the championship lead for the first time. Awesome day.
They are in the lead, 7 victories, great drive. Not the only guys out there that had a good run today. Chris?
Well, it was a great run by the 58 squad of David Donahue and Darren Law. David, you've got to be happy with the second place. Your best finish all year long, but also a bit disappointed you didn't get the win. Tell me about that. The last hour of that race was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I knew Alex had me, especially under braking, so I took, as you could see, a pretty conservative line under braking all the time, and I seemed to be able to get off the corners all right. He had the legs on me in some corners, and I had the legs on him on some quarters, so it was tough. I knew I was vulnerable up there in the corner where he ended up passing me, and I went in kind of hard as I could go. I had to still pick up from the yellows on my tires, and he just had more that could stick and stuffed it in there. And I left one car width open, and he took it. So, kudos to him. That was a great drive, and I'm sorry for our guys that we came home second, but at the same time, I'm glad we came home second. It's better than fifth. That's pretty much our norm.
Obviously, you can hear a little bit of disappointment in David Donahue's voice, but the great thing is the Red Bull car running up front for most of this race.
And it was still their best result since that Mont Tremblant event in 2003. So congratulations to the Brumos gang. How about the points, Dorsey? Alex Gurney, John Fogerty lead by 1 over Pruitt, and then Angelelli 3 points further back. It's even tighter than what it was today, as we congratulate the 91 Riley Matthews car for winning today's SunTrust Improve Your Position Award winner, gaining 7 positions. Well done, Jim Matthews and Mark Goosens, who got a 6th place finish overall. Very quickly, final thoughts?
Well, it's going into the final round, and it's an endurance race, a long one. It's going to be interesting.
1,000 kilometers. It's a 6-7 hour race at Miller Motorsports Park in 3 weeks' time, September 15, here on Speed. Don't miss it.